Today on the Freakacast News, hey, Andrew's here.
Hi. Not
Hey,
that
Andrew.
I'm never here, but hey, hi.
No, but today you have some stuff to inform us on the Freakacast News.
Yes, I do, Matt.
So what are you going to tell us about today?
One of my favorite bands of all time, They Might Be Giants, are currently working on a brand new album.
Yay! New albums are awesome. By the way, Green Day is actually going to be releasing a new album too. My only band I actually follow.
So hopefully both of those bands will be on tour for
Yeah.
them. So maybe this year or next year we can finally see Green Day live. That'd be great.
That would be pretty nice.
I would like to see them. I've never seen them live, considering how long I've been a fan. It's one of the bands.
And
like,
I've never seen them live just because I'm not usually a concert person, so...
But you would go to that one, right?
I would.
All right.
Especially since after our experience with the Weird Al concert, concerts are more fun when you actually know the music.
Yeah. So anyway, the album is tentatively titled, I think, Album 18, I believe. But that could change.
They just titled the album Album 18?
Again, it's because it's so early and in the works,
Oh, okay.
that could very well change. I think it's just like, hey...
Kind of like when they make a sequel to a Batman movie. It's like, oh, we're going to call it Batman 2 or 3 or whatever until we actually get a real name.
Chances are the word Batman will be in the title.
You'd be surprised, though.
I know.
I'm just saying, I mean, it's usually has a tentative title with the whatever the previous one is or what it is with a number attached to it.
Right.
So,
interestingly enough, they're kind of being part of the vinyl revival, where
I've heard of that, actually.
where many bands are now not only doing traditional CDs, but also doing digital music, because that's really the way to go these days, because CD sales have plummeted. Oddly enough, vinyl has started coming back in a big, bad way, just from collectors, but just people who like that sound.
You know, the thing is, it's not so much, at least from the people that I know who actually
it never
like
truly
vinyl,
went away.
It never did, but I think what they like about it's not so much the sound, but it's something about, it's kind of that retro feel of, I've got this gigantic album, and it doesn't really need to take up the space for me to own the music, but there's something awesome about the fact that it's old school. And you can hold it, and it's got some weight to it. It's durable, and it's a callback to a simpler time, I think, for a lot of people. You know.
And for some, it's like, hey, this is a to our roots for music, where this was, really the first way you got it at home.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but it's great for DJs.
Yeah,
because they can scratch with it and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So they have done it for the last 2 albums, I think they have released. So they're continuing that trend by also releasing it in basically 3 formats: CDs, digital, and vinyl. So I'm looking forward to that. And E3, which by the time you hear this will have been finished because it's only about a week or so long.
Yeah.
But E3, for those of you who don't know, Matt, is a big gaming convention.
I know of E3.
Okay.
I know of these conventions. I'm within the loop. I don't pay much attention to it, but I know about it.
Okay. But again, just for those of you who don't know, E3 is one of the biggest ones, like let's say the Comic-Con of gaming conventions, where all the big industries... What?
You said Comic-Con. It makes me think of a bunch of Russian guys
I know.
together.
The thing is, I know it's Comic-Con or Comic-Con, but it's...
Comic-Con.
I know, but I keep hearing it either way, so it's like...
So it sounds like Comic-Con.
Yeah. Anyway.
Comic-Con!
Hadouken. So all the big game developers... and even the small ones, even the independent ones, show up for it to show off their wares and try to get buzz.
I actually have a friend. Actually, you know him. Bill, who used to work with us.
Okay.
Many years ago. He just finished college, and while he was a biomechanical engineering major, he's not doing that. In fact, he's actually a computer animator with one of his friends. They just developed a game. It's similar to... Oh, crud. What did he tell me it was like? It's kind of a third-person...
Shooter?
No, it's not a third-person shooter, but think of it like a third-person shooter, but if you're a wizard.
Okay.
And it's that kind of realm, that fantasy realm.
Okay.
So, where you go and do stuff, but you're a wizard the entire time.
Okay, well, sounds interesting. Anyway, so at E3, Nintendo has been demonstrating their Wii U, which is...
Wii U!
I know, it's fun to say. Wii U, Wii U! Hopefully it'll be fun to play.
Hopefully the cops don't come.
Right. I don't know exactly how it works yet, and I don't think everyone knows exactly how it's going to work. But
even Nintendo doesn't know how it works.
But it's essentially like a bigger Wii remote, but it has a screen in it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a handheld console or it's going to be with the Wii.
Okay.
But here's the interesting thing, the reason why I'm talking about it now, because it's the fact that they're starting to add genres and developers that they normally don't do. Because Nintendo likes to either stick
Make their
with
own
the one,
stuff.
make their own stuff, or stick with the people they trust.
Yeah.
So a lot of the games you can play on Xbox and PlayStation you won't find on the Wii.
Right.
Normally. However,
and that's been the case for Nintendo for all along.
well, for
Games
a while.
you can have on Sega and PlayStation, or Xbox and PlayStation primarily, were not available on any Nintendo products.
Right. So
for the
that's
most part.
starting to change. So they may be trying to reach out for a wider demographic. For example, they're including Modern Warfare as part of their...
That is a big step for them, actually, because they usually don't go with the military games.
Right, so that's going to be part of their Wii U lineup. And they're also including Batman Arkham City.
Awesome!
And the reason
that'll make me buy it, but awesome.
And what I found really cool from the footage I saw was they actually were able to incorporate the detective mode on the smaller screen where it kind of looked like you were doing Batman first person.
Oh,
so that was kind of cool
that's
looking.
awesome.
Right. So in that kind of instance, it was pretty neat.
And that would make it very different. And that would make it a gameplay that's so different from the experience you have on the Xbox and the other systems. Is Batman Arkham City only for Xbox?
It's both Xbox and PlayStation 3.
Okay.
But
that would make it different enough from that so you'd have a reason to play it on that system as opposed to the others.
Right. So it's interesting. I mean, how it might look is you can see the normal screen on the big screen, but you can also have a first-person view on the mini screen. So it might play out like that so you can pick up on details better. And, of course, once they put it to the new format, I'm sure they'll add new things, even though that game is chock full of things to do anyway.
Cram some more stuff in there.
But, hey, that could be cool. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it is. And I mean, obviously, what'll make and break the Wii U is its price.
Well,
I mean, any gaming peripheral has to be within reason for people.
You and I have talked about this before. I don't know if it was on the show or just personally, but the idea of new systems coming out. It used to be a new system would come out every couple of years, and gaming companies now are kind of at a stalemate because you have the newer technology with the Wii and the Kinect and the
PlayStation Move
I couldn't remember the name. They're still working out the kinks and refining that system, which really isn't a system in many cases for Kinect and Move. That's just an additional thing onto the current system. Mm-hmm. So they're working the kinks out on there. So it's really interesting that Nintendo would make a bold move of this and release a new system when everyone's still usually, it appears everyone's still trying to, it's like, okay, yeah, we've got these new systems, but we're still not sure about this technology. Let's kind of work this out.
Well, the thing is, Nintendo has long been a trendsetter /
oh, yes.
people who try stuff out first.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So I'm sure that the other companies, both the big ones and small ones, are all waiting to see what the Wii will do and what it can do. I mean, now, like I said, I don't know if it's a system all on its own or if it's going to be an additional
an add-on,
like the Kinect would be to Xbox.
Right.
And plus, who knows? Like maybe in the future they'll say, we've tried motion, but now it's playing out. Just like now, 3D is big.
Yeah.
Nintendo does have a 3D handheld game.
Right.
Gaming system. So maybe in a few years, people will be like, oh, this motion stuff, I'm sorry, I'm tired of it. Like, oh, 3D, we're tired of it, so they'll have to change with the times. But also, I think it's the fact that they're trying to push the current technology we have. Now, right. I mean, when you compare the three systems, I know we're getting off news topic, so I'll try to get back to it. When you compare the three, the Wii itself is kind of underpowered compared to Xbox and PlayStation. So maybe, because graphically it can't really compete.
Right.
But it also kind of has its own cartoony charm.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. I mean, as I've said before, both on podcast and off, you don't need great graphics to have a good game.
No. You need if anything, what you
need the gameplay and
the gameplay
and the fun to make it a good game.
But you also your graphics should be coordinated well with the way the game's played out.
Right.
If for instance, Modern Warfare. Well, you can't really have cartoony graphics with Modern Warfare. It doesn't really work. But Lego Star Wars, you know what? I don't want a lot of definition and detail in my Lego Star Wars. You don't need that to make it a fun game.
Right. And speaking of Batman and Lego, excellent segue, sir.
Yes.
They also were showing at E3 Lego Batman 2.
Yes, and I've seen some footage of this as well. It looks freaking sweet.
So they're doing some stuff that they've never done before with the Lego game.
And I was a little bit shocked. I saw this. Actually, I saw the video of it, and
the men are talking.
There's talking.
There's going to be actual voice work. And in fact,
not only is there actual voice work, but Clancy Brown, who voiced Lex Luthor in the Superman animated series, is back again to voice Lex Luthor in Lego Batman 2. So they're bringing back some old stuff, but as we've heard, at least from the video I saw, Joker and Batman are not voiced by Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy. But there's still that vibe there. Like when you hear the Joker talking, it's like it sounds like somebody maybe kind of trying to do a Mark Hamill-esque Joker, but we're only seeing one or two lines, so we really don't know how that's going to play out. One thing I do like, it's funny because while this is a Lego Batman game, they really should have just called it the Justice League, because they bring in Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. And the really cool thing is that every time you fly a Superman, it automatically plays the John Williams theme.
And they were also saying because they were talking with the person I saw who was interviewing the game developer for the game said, mm-hmm. We are definitely going to keep the humor aspect of it because it's a Lego game. So I saw Superman is holding Batman by the cape, and he's like, put me down. And he flips him in the air, and he unveils his cape in front of the moon, and then catches him again. He's like, that's not funny.
Yeah. So it is nice to see that.
Because he's like, oh, lighten up.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is I shouldn't say funny. The ironic thing is that while you are branching out and having these characters have voices now, you're still keeping the sense of humor that makes those games fun.
And they are. I saw a glance at the roster. They're including a lot of characters.
Oh, yeah.
Both from just the DC universe in general and Batman, of course.
Well, yeah, but I mean, once you, like I said, they're bringing in Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Green Lantern. Once you bring in those four extra characters, Aquaman, nice.
Aquaman's in the game.
Awesome. Be nice as especially with the way that he's been portrayed in the recent comics. Hopefully, that'll come through.
I know he fights with his trident. That's his standard weapon.
This is pretty. That makes sense. But what I was going to say is I hope they incorporate the super strength and the super hearing as well.
We'll see.
Because that'd be nice. It'd be a nice feature because Aquaman's gotten a bad rap, so it'd be nice to see him.
Mm-hmm. And they are going to include basically as your overworld, like how in between levels, how like in the last Batman game you were in the Batcave and a bit of Wayne Manor. Basically in the overworld you'll be exploring Gotham City.
Right.
They've basically said, okay, we're making Lego Gotham City.
Yeah.
And you can explore it between levels.
So I'll get lots of ideas for mine.
Yeah. So
which is awesome.
So that'll be fun. I am looking the more I'm seeing of it, the more I'm thinking to myself, okay, I got to finish the first Batman Lego game because I finished the story mode of Arkham City, which was great.
But you're still not done with the game yet.
No, not by a long shot because I'm only like 59%.
It's like really at this point, I mean, you could pretty much just count on a Lego, some sort of Lego game or Batman game to come out for the next, I don't know, millennia, and you're fine. You're probably pretty well,
not to spoil anything, but I don't know if they'll make another Gotham City one. Just the way
Arkham City?
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, if it's successful, they're still going to, you can always tell a story, and I know what you're going to spoil because I heard it earlier today, and I'm not going to say it just because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody else. But I think even with however they end the storyline, it doesn't matter. You can always find a new story to tell with Batman.
I'm sure you can. We'll see how it plays out. Either way, the thing is, this game was definitely good, if not better than the first game.
Really, the only way you can make the experience better is to just go
put on the bat suit and go to Gotham.
Well, yeah, but I was gonna say, from a production standpoint, from something in real life, just go ahead and give us an Arkham City movie.
That would be awesome.
I'm really hoping that kind of look and feel will come out in the next film after, since we've concluded the Nolan series.
And the nice thing is, even though because it kind of combines a lot of genres, because yes, it has a gritty, realistic look to it,
feel,
but you include the fantastical because characters like Poison Ivy and Clayface and Mr. Freeze, they're in it,
and they work within the confines, and you feel like it's believable,
and you don't question it, at all.
And and that's what they need, because there's so many. Mr. Freeze is such a great character in the animated series and the comics, and they crapped on him in Batman and Robin, so it'd be but
they did him justice in the game.
They did him justice in the game. Just from the cutscenes I saw online, I'm like, I just want to watch this for 2 hours. So it would be nice if they did, and honestly, the guys over at Modern Myth Media are saying the same thing. Look, this is a great look and feel. Just go with that. Just take this idea and run with it. This would be, it's set up so well for that.
Really, all you have to do is get the guys who are writing that game to say, hey, you already made the game content in itself is if you do it right, it's probably 2 hours long.
Yeah.
You've got a movie there.
Well, exactly.
Obviously you got to flesh things out, but it played like a movie that you get to be as Batman in a Batman movie, essentially.
That makes sense. That's how you make a good Batman game.
Yeah. But anyway, I think since we're kind of rambling on, we want to get to the topic at hand, so that's it for the Freakacast news.
But also, we do want to remind people...
sorry.
Also want to remind people that The Hobbit will be coming out on December 13th of this year. So we're looking forward to that.
And they have Hobbit Legos to go with it.
Yes, they have Lord of the Rings Legos to go out with that, which
are out,
pretty
I
good.
think.
Yeah, they've been out for a while.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, they came out back in May.
Ah.
So they're out. Go get them if you want them.
And just, look out for the movie. I'm sure we'll be seeing trailers for them if we haven't already.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's the trailer's been out for a while. The first trailer. I'm sure there'll be another trailer to come out.
Okay.
Usually, most movies have a newer trailer come out a couple months before the movie.
Either way, I'm looking forward to it.
As am I, because this will be a more linear storyline.
Yeah, you mean you're fully focusing on one group.
Yeah, which is a lot easier. This is why I like Fellowship and not Two Towers and Return of the King so much.
But I'm sure it'll be a very long movie anyway.
Oh, yes. It's Peter Jackson.
And Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings. He's going to stretch it out no matter what. But either way, it's going to be good. We may have to go to a midnight showing for that.
Perhaps.
Anyway,
now, that was it for the Freakacast news.
Yes. Today on Masterpiece Theatre, I'd like to read you a tale that I've found very fond of for many years. It begins a long time ago in a land far away. We have a beautiful princess with long blonde hair, but yet one day she was
Abducted
by the evil Ganon. And so then the Hyrulean Link was called upon to find and rescue this princess.
with master sword in hand and magical bow in the other.
Wait. What sword? There is no sword. The sword is a lie. I give you the Legend of Zelda.
Iconic music!
That'll put it later, so you can hear the theme whenever you want.
And if you have never heard it, what's wrong with you? You.
So, Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good, Matt. We are the Freakacast.
Yes, we are the Freakacast. This is Andrew Felson.
And that's Matthew Puetz.
First time we've ever introduced each other.
Yep. And over there is Henry and Mystical Bob you can't see.
Well, they definitely can't see him, but where is Bob? What about Bob?
What about Bob?
I know. He's been gone a while. And he still owes me $20.
Perhaps he's dead. But he has a show still.
Probably. Now we know what happened to Bob.
I know. He got hung, apparently. I could probably do that song because I've heard it so many times now, but I'm not going to.
By the way, this actually works in really well with you today.
I mean, we saw.
If you have the chance, we did. I don't know what he was doing there. If you have the chance to go to a Renaissance festival in your area, hopefully they'll have the Dead Bob show.
And if not, chances are apparently very good that you'll run into Link.
Here's the funny thing.
The thing is, he fits in with the motif.
He at least fits in, right? few years ago, when me and the girl I was dating at the time went to the Renaissance Festival, there was a guy dressed like a Jedi Knight. Now, it was a well-done costume. I'll give him that. But
Wrong setting.
wrong setting. It's like, come on. It's like, because I caught it out of the corner of my eye. And, it is a fairly non-assuming looking costume at first glance.
Mm-hmm.
But once I saw, I'm like, wait, what is a Jedi doing here? Renaissance, medieval period. Hey, hello, McFly. Anybody home?
Ninjas are a stretch, but at least can kind of fit in with motif.
They probably existed at that time.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Pirates.
Samurai, pirates,
Okay.
that makes sense. This is at least within that time frame. Jedi Knights and Link, no. Now, granted, Link does fit in because it's kind of medieval, but still, it stands out as Link. That's the only problem with that.
I mean, if he had thing is, the Link we saw had the bright green furnish. If he had the more current, darker green, like the one that looks like someone who would try to be camouflaged in a forest, I think that would have fit in a lot better instead of the bright cartoony green that this person was wearing. I mean, it's still medieval stuff where a hero looking for a princess. That totally fits in with the motif.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're talking about Zelda today.
Yes, we are talking about The Legend of Zelda.
The Legend of Zelda. But first, if you want to find us on the interwebs, look for us at afelson1.wordpress.com. That is afelson1.wordpress.com.
Or Stitcher. What's that thing called?
Podcast app.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of something. Oh, the Pandora of podcasts.
Yes.
Which is awesome. I've used it. What did I use it for? The Forcecast. And it took me to a couple others, which was pretty cool. And also, if you happen to be in the Roswell, Georgia area, go check out the Aurora Cineplex, which you can see a lot of movies that are awesome. Predominantly the ones that we plug, that we've seen that we like.
Right. Also, we are on iTunes, and both Stitcher and iTunes works in the same fashion where newer episodes bump the old ones off. So if you want to hear our archive of episodes, go to the WordPress page. There's actually a drop-down tab that has podcasts listed, so you can go right to where all those are listed.
And while we're on the subject, if you would, it'd be nice, leave us a review on iTunes.
And of course, you can always find us on Facebook. We are both under the Freakacast and Freakout Entertainment. You will find us both there. I pretty much post the episodes on both those spots.
Post the episodes on both those sites, but Freakout Entertainment is more for video projects, whereas the Freakacast will post stuff more in line with what our episodes are dealing with.
Right, so I'm sure there'll be no shortage of Zelda-related videos I can find that I can even think of off the top of my head that we can put in. So if you want to look at that, speaking of videos, we made one. So look us up on YouTube. We have the Freakacast intro.
Yes.
Up.
And you'll just type in the Freakacast on YouTube and you'll find our channel and you'll find our intro video.
Right, and of course, we must always plug the ever-awesome songswearpants2.com.
Songswearpants2.com.
Because he's also on YouTube, also always putting out some really cool, interesting stuff.
Yeah, and that guy, Andrew Huang, he does a really good job with contracted songs and videos and content that he puts out. And, I saw a video the other day of his, and it was, the Nomming song, which was hilarious. But the interesting thing about that is that's what he does for a living. Mm-hmm. So, if you want to, support an independent freelance artist, there you go. And he does a good job. I mean, it's not like some of these folks that come out and you're like, well, I don't know. I mean, there's a reason we use him for our theme song. There's a reason we plug him. We like his stuff, and we ourselves go to his site and that sort of thing. So we just want to kind of pass that along to him.
Mm-hmm. And as I've said before, even if you don't want to pay for the song, you can request stuff, and if he likes the concept, he'll do it.
Well, yeah, request stuff anyway, just to see what...
if someone can randomly say, make a song with pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
And give us pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
The man's talented enough to do silly things. And plus, he's not afraid to do silly things, which I like.
Yeah, very true. In fact, sometimes we need more silliness in this world.
Indeed.
Did we already talk about Newgrounds?
Not yet. Newgrounds.com. I like to plug this site just because a lot of Flash content that they put up new every single day. Audio Portal, which I
have to be honest, when I've gone to Newgrounds before, I just get so overwhelmed with the amount of stuff on there, I can't focus in and I end up leaving the page because I get scared.
That's...
But there is a lot of good stuff on there.
It is the kind of the Achilles heel of Newgrounds, the fact that it's so open, submission. Yeah. So, the idea of having people who are signed up as members constantly vote on all the stuff, so they keep track of what's good, what's not.
Right.
So, but they have an extensive library of just animations and games that people have put up. Some quite good, and even the simple stuff that would be quite funny. I posted not long ago the Thor's favorite, Hulk's favorite hammer.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that,
that was pretty funny.
If you haven't seen that, it's still on the Freakacast page on Facebook. So look that up; it's really good. Or just go to Newgrounds.
Yeah.
And as I said, they also have a audio portal, basically where people submit homemade music.
And where you can get your own music.
Right, and you can submit your own music as well if you're making music.
So it really is a great artist tool because you can submit your own music, you can get music that you can use for other projects, and that's what I like about places like Newgrounds and people like Andrew Huang is it's all about sharing of content and getting a more creative juices flowing within each other, and not just saying, oh, well, that's a really good idea, I'm going to steal that from you and use it. No, it's free and open, you can share and share alike.
Right. Anything you want to plug before we get to the topic of the day?
Just the usual. Brickshelf.com, just to check out awesome Lego stuff. People are always posting every day different projects they've put up. Oddly enough, I don't have anything up on Brickshelf. I need to for some reason. I keep forgetting is my problem. You know how I am.
Yes.
I'll do all this and be like, oh, I forgot to do that, and that. So I need to do that. But obviously, modernmythmedia.com. Just for comic superhero related stuff. They keep well up to date with all your superhero news, whether it's comic related, movie related, or TV related. Actually, now with the new Green Arrow TV show.
BatmanOnFilm.com?
Yeah, but honestly, because they work together, it's the same guys. It's not the same guy that runs Batman on Film that runs Modern Myth Media, but it's the same guys that do the podcast. I get more content out of Modern Myth Media, and they post Batman stuff as well.
Okay.
Although the Batman on Film page is still a worthwhile site, but at this point, with Dark Knight Rises just came out and all this stuff, you're not going to have a lot of stuff. It's going to be kind of going under the Dark Ages like we had prior to Batman Begins, which I'll be looking forward to see what the direction of the new series is going to go. I mean, because it's been out for a couple years now almost. That they're going to reboot the Batman franchise. And obviously with the success of Avengers, DC's like, yeah, we need a Justice League film. So it will be interested to see how they're going to do that. What I think, and I agree with the guys on Modern Myth Media, the best way to do it is to establish your Superman franchise with Man of Steel and its sequel, establish the new Batman franchise, and then bill the Justice League movie as a Batman-Superman team-up. Yeah, I don't think, we talked about this before with Avengers where you had Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America solo films and then coming together in Avengers. But that's also because the mainstream audience, as far as household names, did not know those guys. I think the only one that was actually a household name was Hulk. My parents knew who Hulk was. They didn't know about Cap. They didn't know about Thor. They didn't know about Iron Man until the films. And I think with Justice League, you can do Batman and Superman and get people in the seats. Just on that alone. And another thing is what they've done in the Justice League animated series, they've done it in the comic books now, is actually tell the origin story using the Justice League to tell that story. I think that would make it similar to Marvel's approach in that you establish the Batman and Superman franchise as solo, but then you use that to market the Justice League film and then use that film to depict an origin of one of the sideline characters like Flash or Aquaman or... what's the guy? Martian Manhunter. Because they actually use his origin in the animated series.
Or Cyborg, or...
Well, I was going to say, they did Cyborg's origin in the comics.
Yeah. Which
is pretty cool. Actually, I like having Cyborg on the Justice League. He's a really good fit, and he really adds something to the team. As opposed to... he added something to Teen Titans. Granted, I love that show, but I think if that show hadn't been self-aware, it would not have been as much fun.
That was a funny show.
It was.
I enjoyed that show. It had good moments in it, too.
It did. It was, like I said, if it hadn't been self-aware, it would not have worked. It needed to be self-aware. And it was funny, but at the same time, the characters were really, I don't want to say you could connect with them, but they were just...
They were entertaining.
They were. I think that's what I meant. That's what I was going for. They were entertaining, and it made a worthwhile show. Speaking of which, before we go on, They are actually going to be renewing that show. They're going to have new
nice.
episodes come out this fall.
Sweet.
As part of their the DC Nation on Cartoon Network, which means we probably won't be around to see it since we work so much.
Well, there's always YouTube and the official site.
Yeah, they'll probably show the episodes on the official site.
So, topic of the day.
The Legend of Zelda.
Just saying that, hearing that out loud again, just shivers down my
The
spine.
Legend of Zelda.
Ooh. Do it again.
The Legend of Zelda.
Legend of Zelda!
Okay, that's enough for me. I'm not a trained monkey here.
I know. It was a Lion King reference.
But at least it's on recording now, so you can listen to it anytime you want.
Yeah. Anyway, as you can probably tell, I like this
Game.
game.
You're like, I like this. Yeah, you like that, but it's a game. At least it started off as a game.
Indeed.
So, Andrew, how did this game start?
This game started in the mind of Shigeru Miyamoto.
That sounds painful.
Miyamoto, for those of you who don't know, is the current president, CEO of Nintendo.
Smart guy.
And this is one of his original creations, along with Mario and Donkey Kong.
Like I said,
and other
smart
things.
guy.
Yeah.
Wait, Mario, I've heard that name before. Donkey Kong. Oh, yeah. These are all the successes. So,
Yes. You know, and he's very, very into what he does, and he's very active in the making of process. He's very into putting his input and ideas. Like, he's a big creator on a lot of the modern gaming icons that we have today.
well, and he's done, I mean, look at his, the three that we're talking about, right, or Zelda plus Donkey Kong and Mario are well known throughout all of pop culture. So it's no surprise that he knows what he's doing.
Even the non-gamers know who they are, at least in by name.
Like my parents.
Yeah. So, I guess...
No wonder he's the CEO.
Yeah, so I kind of have this out of order, but the thing is, I think it actually makes sense if I talk about his inspiration first.
Okay.
And I liked this... I got this from Wikipedia, and I liked its description so much, I just copy and pasted. So I'm just going to read the description real quick, because I like it. It's quite good. It really fits how he came about it. So, The Legend of Zelda.
The Legend of Zelda!
I hope you don't do this every time.
Not every time.
Was primarily inspired by Shigeru Miyamoto's explorations as a young boy in the hillsides surrounding his childhood home in Sonobe, Japan.
You know, this sounds very similar to Tolkien.
Very well,
Because he was inspired by his, the area that he grew up in, and that sort of thing.
I mean, I'm sure that's probably true for a lot of artists, where they're inspired by what's around them and what they grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
Where he ventured into forests with secluded lakes, caves, and rural villages.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
I wonder why. According to Miyamoto, one of his most memorable experiences was the discovery of a cave entrance in the middle of the woods.
Awesome.
After some hesitation, he apprehensively entered the cave and explored its depths with the aid of a lantern. Also in the game.
Oh, you know what? Like, they need to make a movie about this guy and his childhood.
They do. I mean, I would watch it. I would totally... If they made a documentary of Miyamoto and, like, they had, like, cutscenes of, like, him in the cave and then he can kind of see Zelda emerge and all this, that would be great. Miyamoto has referred to the creation of the Zelda games as an attempt to bring to life a miniature garden for players to play with in each game of the series.
Oh, that is awesome.
And, hearing of American novelist F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife Zelda, Miyamoto thought the name sounded pleasant and significant. Paying tribute, he chose to name the princess after her and titled his creation The Legend of Zelda.
I promise I'm not going to do it this time.
Thank you. So,
but it was pretty cool that now we know where the name The Legend of Zelda comes from. F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife.
Mm-hmm. And you can also tell the setting is basically his reliving of his childhood adventures and fantasies put into a game.
Caves and forests and... Like, I just want to go to his childhood and be there.
And of course, the nice thing is when you are exploring caves and forests as a young boy or young girl, what are you really thinking? You're thinking probably along the lines of...
killing monsters and saving princesses.
You know, I'm saving princess. I'm exploring. I'm finding treasure. I'm doing all these things. Like a stick in my hand is now a sword.
Yes.
You know, this other thing, this log I have.
Explain why there's a wooden sword.
True. You know, this other thing I have in my hand. This is my shield. You know, maybe a boomerang. Things you can find in the forest that you can pretend to be as your weapon. So
this just makes... You know what? I really want to play this game again now just because knowing that, I'm going to go in and be like,
So-
yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, so it's it's very fitting when you look at these overall settings of the game where they're mostly like this. They have deviated a bit, which we'll touch on a bit.
Right.
So, the first game came out in 1987. The far past.
Thank you for making us feel old.
For the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Ah, yes, 1987. We had just moved in to our new house, Heen Circle, that we just, at that time, just built. All because my mom wanted a horse. And I turned 5 that year, so. And we had to live in the basement because the upper part of the house wasn't finished. Sorry, I'm just setting this tone of 1987.
That's fine. I mean, if you were 5, I was 4. So obviously, I don't think I was playing this game yet.
No, I wasn't either, because my parents were.
Which we'll talk about. Which we
Yeah.
will talk about. My parents were too. Well, my dad was, oddly enough. Anyway, also a person I want to mention, because it's very important, because if you haven't quite guessed it yet from, I'm sure, the great music that I selected as your intro and our little ditty that we tried to do.
Yes.
The music was created by, and hopefully I pronounced the man's name right, Koji, Koji, I believe that's how you say it, Kondo, Kondo.
Koji Kondo!
Koji Kondo. And he has been doing the music for Zelda ever since.
Nice.
He is the person who has basically done all the music for the games. So the iconic tune that we all know,
Right.
and all the caves and levels and all the music that from each and every game, he has done it. So
Well, you know,
hats off to him for making music that has very much defined my childhood.
well, not only that, but, I mean, you get the same guy doing it for so long. I mean, it's nice that they have that consistency. You know, one of my biggest complaints with the X-Men movie series is that they've never had the same composer twice. And so there's no similar feel. And when you have the same composer come back, whether it's a movie franchise or a game franchise, having the same guy come back to do the music, even if it's different music in each game, there's going to be some common threads there that's going to hold it together. And you're going to feel like you're back in the saddle sort of thing.
So what is this game all about? Well, usually, in the intro of the game, you'll start hearing about the legend of Hyrule. Hyrule is the place where these games are set.
Okay.
So, now what's nice, or for some people frustrating about the games is, it's never in the same Hyrule. It's not always the same Link, or Zelda, or Ganon, even. So, which we'll get to. But there are constants. One of the things I will talk that is definitely a constant is it usually takes place in Hyrule,
Okay.
whether it be a forest, whether it be the fields, whether it be the towns,
Right.
or all the above in some cases, all at once. And the Triforce.
The Triforce.
That is usually in every single game. There are exceptions, but for the most part, that is in the game. The Triforce consists of 3 parts, obviously, with the word tri. And they are
3
triangles.
words.
And they are triangles as well. So again, Triforce.
Yeah.
And they are courage, wisdom, and power. Those are the 3 sections.
I never knew what they stood for. I just knew, find the triangles.
And courage is usually held by Link, our hero.
Yes.
Normally silent in the games.
Yes.
Well, silent in a way. He screams and yells and...
Silent but deadly.
Perhaps. Well, he very well could be. He is usually armed to the teeth.
So silent but deadly.
Silent, but again, doesn't say much, but he sure yells a lot in the later games.
Okay.
So he's definitely not a mute, but we never actually hear Link talk in the games. But it is inferred that he's having conversation with people.
Right.
He just doesn't really talk. We have Zelda. She is the princess. Sometimes she is the princess in distress. Sometimes she's not.
Okay.
Depending on what she's doing and the story of the game. And in some of the later games, she also has the dual identity of Sheik, S-H-I-E-K.
Sheik?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is a ninja persona. First seen in Ocarina of
A
Time.
ninja princess. I like
Yes, where she was trained. And apparently in that game, they're like, okay, no more her just sitting waiting to be rescued.
Yeah.
She's going to be playing an active part in the game of helping you out.
Cool.
Without you knowing it until the end. I don't have to say spoiler because, this is
Yeah.
an N64 time.
Right.
Plus it's common knowledge now, considering it's in the Smash Brothers game
Yeah.
where she can transform into this character.
Yeah.
And Ganon is usually the
bad
villain.
guy.
The main villain.
Well, it's good that you have those constants there.
Now the reason why I do say that, I say usually this, sometimes this, is the
Right.
fact that with a couple exceptions,
Well-
no two games are exactly alike.
What I was gonna say, when you got something like this, you've got the same guy doing the music. I imagine the guy who originally created the first one created the other ones as well.
Yes, he has had a hand in writing and designing all the games.
Any good writer, if you're gonna design whether it's a game, a book, or a film franchise, you don't want to do the same trick twice.
No.
So you want your storylines to be different. You want to do different things. But like you said, you've got the Triforce, you've got Link, and you've got Zelda, and you've got Ganon. So how can you do, a game, a story with these same characters and elements, but do it different? And it makes sense.
Right, and they have, for the most part, been pretty successful in pretty much creating a new game that is worth playing every time.
Yeah.
And, some are definitely going to be a lot more different than others.
Right.
And there's going to be some that are going to break the rules, some that are more well-received than others. I mean, that kind of comes with the territory.
Right.
But before we talk about some of the games in general, we're definitely going to talk about the first one, because that's a game
That's the one we both played.
we have both played. There is some significance for this series as a whole. For example, it has helped define and refine the action genre of gaming.
Okay.
Because,
How so?
well, up until that time, this was one of the first games that had a save feature.
Yes, I do remember that.
Where your progress
Something I hated about Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Brothers is a great platforming game. It's a great, even kind of a borderline adventure game. But
Yeah.
if you
Once
you stop playing, you have to start from scratch. Now, if you die at a later level in the game, you can hold A and push start, and you can resume your progress. But once you turn it off, you're done.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
That's fine. It's one of those little secrets.
Then again, all I would ever do is go to the warp zone, go to level 4,
Or warp
and then
zones.
jump to level 8, and then die on the first one because they never gave me enough time.
So this one was the first one that kind of incorporated the idea that, hey, if this is a game that you can actually progress and you can get better as you go along and you can get more stuff as you go along.
Right.
So it also included aspects of trying to figure out puzzles. And so it included a lot of things in the action genre where because you're the whole time you're moving around fighting bad guys and killing monsters, but you also have to use your head.
Right.
You also need strategy to play the game.
Yes.
You can't just go in there with sword swinging.
No.
So there are times where you have to know when to swing your sword, when to dodge, when to use your spells and items. It also helped to create the modern RPG as we know it.
I was going to say, this definitely, one of the things about the first game is that it had so many elements of role-playing game, as far as, like you said, you had to, go from, not only, say, to get from point A to point B, and you have to defeat bad guys along the way, but you can get new weapons, like the bombs, or the bow and arrow, and that sort of thing.
Right,
and
then
how do you use that? And you have to use that for certain adversaries in your labyrinths. Which I always liked that word of labyrinth as opposed to dungeon. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But you need that. You need certain weapons to defeat certain enemies to get the different pieces of Triforce.
Right, and not only that, but you're also as you progress, you gain more health, so you can take more damage.
Right.
So
I love the fairy.
Right. So and fairies are also a constant in the games. They're pretty much in every single game, in some shape or another.
Awesome.
And it's one of among the first games that actually, as you gain power, yes, you have more life, so you can take more damage, but the game's also going to get a lot more difficult as well. Which certainly a lot of games do.
Because you need more health to sustain more damage so that you can defeat the bigger bosses and bigger enemies.
So all these concepts help define many genres of gaming that we still see today.
Right.
So it is a extremely important, series, not just for Nintendo, but for all of gaming.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, granted, I've only played, I can't say I've only played the first one, but that's the only one that I've actually played the most. I did actually play, I do vaguely remember, now that I think about it, I do remember this when the second Zelda came out, I think for the Super Nintendo.
No, it's on the NES. Still.
Okay. I don't remember much. I mean, at that period of time was kind of foggy for me. So I just remember,
Did you suffer head trauma? What's wrong with you?
No. I say it's foggy just because I didn't play games a lot, so when I have to think about my gaming experience back then, I was like, I don't remember what I played. I remember I played Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and Zelda. And that was pretty much it because, as I've said before, I've very rarely beaten a game, so it's like, what's the point of getting another game if I haven't beaten this one? It's like, I'm just going to keep playing this one until I get bored with it, and then I'll come, do something else and go back to it later. But Zelda was a game that I could pick up, and I enjoyed it no matter what stage of the game I was at, I enjoyed playing the game. Even if it was back to the beginning and all I had was the wooden sword, it's like you feel like you're going on an adventure at every point in the game.
Yeah, because you have this big feeling, because it's a pretty big, like, vast map for the game.
It is.
It was a big setting for the game, probably one of the bigger at the time that they concluded for the NES. And you got a good feeling of exploration.
Yes.
You know, like, what's here? What's here? What can I do this? Like, ooh, there's a fairy. Awesome. I found a fairy.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, I found a hidden passage.
And you know, one thing I actually can say that I got from that game was a good sense of direction. I said it because that game, one thing that game did for me was because you have to remember, you really have to keep a good mental track of where everything is on the game, you know, this big open map. So I, you know, at the course of playing that game, developed an ability to that where I'm going somewhere, I'm making a mental map in my head, which allows me to, you know, develop a good sense of direction.
Pity that didn't help me.
Well, I can only speak for myself. I don't know if that did it for anybody else, but I know that's what it did for me.
That's fine.
But I do vaguely remember playing the second Zelda game and not having a clue as to what was going on in it because it didn't feel like a sequel. Like it didn't feel like a continuation of the storyline from what I remember. But then again, I didn't play it that long. I think I just rented the game and played it. And I think because in those days you could only rent a game for like a day or two. And if you didn't play it, you know, that fast, you know, it was like, Mom's like, well, you got to take it back because it's got to go back to the video store. So it's not, and then, you know, when they actually gave it to you for a week, because they're like, oh, people need more than just a day or two to play a game.
Yeah, especially those games. You can't beat those in, you know, a day.
Well, you can't even necessarily get that far. It takes you, I mean, because especially with me, I'd play it for like a half hour, an hour. Well, do that over the course of a week. Yeah, that's some good significant gameplay. You're going to, you know, get a better feel for it. But I just remember, and plus the graphics were so vastly different because it went from being a top-down, you know, you see the whole world map to like 2D sidestep.
Which I will talk about.
Was just very jarring to me. So I kind of haven't played a Zelda game since.
It's a shame.
Except for the first one.
They're good games, for the most part.
Yeah. Well, actually, I take that back. I did actually play, I don't remember what, it was one for the Game Boy Color. But I played it just for a little bit.
Is it Link's Awakening?
Probably.
Well, hopefully if I talk about it a little bit, you'll maybe remember it.
But then again, you know.
But since we are on the topic, because this is the first game, the inaugural game that you've played, you actually know the story. What is the story of the first game, Matt? What do you remember of it being? Other than find the princess.
Well, that's about, as far as the story, that's all I remember. Like, but what you actually have to do is, you know, first you get the wooden sword from the guy.
The old man.
And then you have to go around and fight stuff. And then you have to basically go from labyrinth to labyrinth to labyrinth and collect the different pieces of the Triforce in order to get to Ganon, in order to defeat him. Along the way, you have to, if I remember correctly, you have to get a letter from the old woman to take to the old man, or is it the other way around?
Vice versa.
Okay. I remember there's two old people, and you have to get a letter from one to the other.
Yes.
But I just remember I enjoyed the fact that you had the stuff to do, but along the way there was other stuff you could do. But it wasn't like Arkham City and stuff where I would get so distracted from this other stuff I forget the main story. It's like, okay, as I'm going from labyrinth to labyrinth, I'm gonna have to, you know, get some, you know, I'm gonna have combat some guys along the way.
And you know, I need some supplies, so I got to kill them to get rubies.
Right.
Which is another constant in all the Zelda games.
Yeah, and you know, the use of the money, it was definitely worthwhile because you got money so you could get more weapons and you could use it to, you know, so you'd load up on weapons and go into a labyrinth and go through it, and you had the puzzles that you had to figure out, like, you know, what do you have to push in order to get the doors open in one room? That was always a pretty cool thing for me.
Or like, is this room where I can bomb a wall and get to another area?
Yeah, that was certainly a really cool feature for me because I love puzzles. So for me, you know, yes, I have to fight these guys, but, you know, I like strategy games, and that had a lot of strategy in it, like you said before. So for me, that's just one of those games where, you know what, I can sit down. I like the graphics on it. It would be nice if they, you know, nowadays, if you want to, you know, make me an iPod app with the original Zelda game, tweak the graphics just a little bit to make it, you know, a little bit nicer looking. That'd be awesome. I'd probably... Actually, no, that wouldn't be awesome because I'd probably never see you for a while.
Especially if it had the good music and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta have the good
Oh
music.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of those things because that original game, it just there was something about it that no other game I
It
think
really set the tone for
really did.
games to come.
And for me, it was something where, like I said before, like at any point in the game, I can enjoy playing. You know, even if it was just for a half hour or so, it's like it doesn't matter where I'm at in the game, I'm enjoying it. And that was probably one of the few games where I felt that way. Because very rarely do I feel that way about a game, obviously, from what you know about me. Because Mario Brothers is not like that. You know, it's very linear, and because you can't save, you have to start all the way back at the beginning. Whereas Zelda, you can save. So, and that was a feature that made it really nice. You can save, you can go back to where you were, but you very rarely were at a place where it was either you save it right before you die. You don't normally do that. It's just, I have a lot of fun memories, and this was actually a game I went back to and played again later on in my life, I think probably early college, because my parents played this game. They got addicted to it that year because my mom started driving a bus in '87, and so over Christmas vacation, because she had 2 weeks off, that's all they did.
Let's play Zelda.
I don't remember what I got for Christmas that year, because I remember they got the Nintendo, and all they did, probably for a good 24 hours a day, I mean, I remember them being up all night playing this game.
You can easily get drawn into that game playing all night.
And I was only 5 years old, and I wasn't, really adept at playing video games yet, nor did I was just like, oh, that's the thing Mom and Dad do. So I remember them playing the game. However, because my mom is very intelligent, she sat down, and the game came with this big drawn-out map. And she had everything written down, so that when I went to play it, I didn't have to look for stuff. I was just like, oh, go here to get this, okay?
Oddly enough, I have a similar tale. Not both my parents, but my dad.
Okay.
Also got very addicted to the game. And he too we had that big map too. But my dad was in printing at the time.
Yeah.
So he made a big copy and laminated it.
Do you still have that copy?
I do.
Good.
And he as well made notes on it.
Nice.
And because it was laminated, we could also rewrite it because there was a second quest for the game.
Oh, there was?
Where once you beat the game, there was a second quest you could do where it moved everything around.
See, I never beat the game because I never got to Ganon. So.
What's nice is about that game is even if you can't beat it the first time, if you enter the name Zelda as your name, it'll automatically put you to the second quest.
Oh, I did not know that.
You do now.
I do now.
And the second quest is challenging because all the dungeons have been moved, all the stuff where you want to find, like all the items that you want have been moved around.
Yeah.
And it's a little harder. So.
Cool.
So it gives
you want it to be a good challenge for you. You don't want to have the same thing if you're going to play the game again.
Right. So he would make notes too, and I still have that map. I don't know where it is, but I still have that map.
Nice.
And even later in life, my dad got a Wii last year. And I told him how I also hooked up his Wi-Fi not too long ago, and I told him that, hey, Wii has this virtual store, a virtual console. He said, what's that? And I explained it to him. I was like, yeah, it's got old games like Zelda. He's like, Zelda? I was like, yeah. He's like, let's buy that.
Your dad's like, Zelda? I'm in.
Pretty much. And then for a long while, he would stay up late nights, drive my mom crazy.
And this was last year?
This was last year. He hasn't finished it. Something came up and he didn't finish, but he's looking at us like, oh, I should finish that game. But for a long while, for a good month or two straight, he was playing Zelda quite a bit. And he'd call me and say, Andrew, where is this? I'm like, I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, my parents didn't do that at least. Well, it was funny because when the new Zelda game came out for the Wii, because my parents got a Wii too about a couple years ago. I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, I remember Mom really liking the Zelda game because she too, like kind of me, like she liked the puzzle aspects, and you have to get your Triforces, but you have to figure out, like if you're in a room in a labyrinth, does can I blow open one of the walls, or do I have to move a stone or something to get the doors open? And I was like, Dad, I really remember Mom liking this game. Do you think she'd like it? Because I was considering buying it for Christmas that year, I think. He's like, I think that might have been where we were both young enough where it was something stupid. It was like it was a point in our lives where we didn't have anything else to do. Because because they were early 30s in that time. So I think for them it might have been a case of the right time, the right place for the game.
Gotcha.
Whereas now, where they're both, older and, about ready to retire and that sort of thing, I think their interests are a little different. But I am going to pose the question to my mom if she's still interested, because she really liked that version of Zelda. So I think she would appreciate going back and being able to replay the game on the Wii, and especially that way she has a way to boot it up on the Wii anytime she wants. I don't know if I could see her doing that, but she could prove me wrong. I mean, shoot.
You can always ask.
What did she mention the other day that really threw me off? I was actually starting worrying about my parents because Dad's apparently writing a book.
Yeah, I heard about that.
He's writing a book on transportation theories.
Sounds thrilling.
It does. The thing is, he's not trying to make it like a professional book. I mean, he's trying to make it, something to read for the average person that they understand. And it's not about like transportation, like, how to move buses. It's like for school bus safety, but you get the parents and, everybody involved because you want kids to be safe.
Right.
And that's really what it's about. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I can't remember what my mom mentioned. She said something, and I just want to go, I don't know you two anymore. So I don't know if she'd be in for it. So like I said, I don't know about it. She might not. But the fact is, I had so much fun playing the game. When I went back to play it again in college, it was so much fun again with the music, and I got the map out and everything, and I'm going through, and it's like, this is awesome. That's the thing about this game is it's got a good story to it, but it's got all the elements they put in the game.
Make you want to play it again.
It does.
It has a high replay value.
And the thing of it is, I don't want to say it's flawless, because I'm sure there's a flaw somewhere. But it's damn near perfect.
It's definitely an example of what a good game should be.
I think, like I said, upgrade the graphics, that's about it. I wouldn't change a thing about this game to replay it.
And the thing is, even for the time, it had nice graphics. So
Yeah.
It's one of those things where they have ported it to the Nintendo DS. So
Okay.
they're newer, not the newest, but obviously, but the newer Game Boy versions. So you can replay them there.
Oh,
They've
nice.
done both Zelda games that were on the NES for it. So I have those actually. So it's
Nice.
funny. I kind of own Link, that particular Zelda game, like more than 3 times at this point. No,
Nice.
like 3 times. Like either way, I own it multiple times, and I've played it. Not last year, but within the last couple of years, I've replayed the game, both games, and it's one of those games where like every time I pick it, I was like, oh, I got this. It's Zelda. I then realized, oh, it's Zelda. I can't just say it's an easy, simple game. Like it gets to a point where this is hard. This was one of those games where I was only able to beat once I got older. Like I would play it a lot as a kid. I would get up to the last place, but I kept getting killed in the last dungeon.
Yeah,
like it's like I got beyond my skills.
I forgot exactly how many there were. I want to say there were 9 dungeons.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I was remembering that correctly. I want to say I only got up to about 5 or 6, only because I think there got to a point where I either didn't have enough health to get to somewhere, or I didn't have the right item to get to somewhere or something. So, that's what it was. There was an item. It was an item. It was an item I needed to get to some place, but I could never find out where it was, and it wasn't on the map. And so I was.
So it was probably in a dungeon somewhere.
Yeah, probably. I miss those days.
I remember for that particular game, I can pretty much breeze through all the way up through the 5th dungeon. The 6th dungeon, on the other hand, is always the one where I always feel the difficulty gets ramped up. Because that introduces the wizards. And they are evil.
Yeah, I definitely did not get to the 6th dungeon.
Because they shoot magic at you and they takes a ton of health away.
Now, do you feel like there was there was too much of a jump between the 5th and 6th labyrinths?
No, I mean, it's definitely... As I said, that game had a good balance of its progression of difficulty.
Okay.
And and it's not really necessary for this particular thing, but it kind of helps when I talk about the rest of the games that I'll talk about, is the fact that...
Oh, I was going to say, yeah.
The purpose of this game, like, to go to each dungeon, you're picking up pieces of one Triforce, because it was split into multiple pieces. I believe it's...
Let's think. We'll just do some simple math here. There were 3 Triforces.
Yes.
There were 9 dungeons.
Yes.
So they're split up into 3 pieces.
No, what happens is you're picking up pieces of one Triforce.
I know. Each Triforce was split up into 3 pieces.
No, just...
3 Triforces, correct?
Yes.
3 pieces.
Yes.
So 3 times 3 is 9.
All right, then. Whatever. But the thing is, all I'm trying to make clear is, basically you're picking up the pieces of the Triforce of Courage, let's say.
Yes.
Okay? Because
Yes.
I think Ganon has the power, and Zelda has wisdom.
Oh, I got you.
So Zelda's holding the one, Ganon's holding another, and the person who holds all three has the ultimate power.
I got you. So it's split up into 9 pieces.
Yes,
Okay.
so the Triforce of Courage has been split to hide them from Ganon.
Okay.
Now what I kind of skipped talking about is the Triforce, and this usually is a constant in every game it appears.
Yeah, you said that.
Is the fact that once the Triforce will grant the wish of whoever holds it. So,
Okay.
all
Triforces?
No, when they're together.
Okay.
Now, holding the Triforce can give you great power, regardless of which one it is.
And with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
So you don't want to put this in the hands of Ganon.
Right, and he has evil wishes. So, usually in his case, like the reason why Ganon is a monster, like a pig thing,
right,
in the first game is because he was an evil man, and the Triforce will, in that case, kind of amplify and transform into what your inner desire feels it reflects. So in his case, it turned him into a monster, into a beast.
Okay.
For Link, it basically says that you are a hero, so it kind of amplifies his heroic might.
So it makes him Super Link!
That's why in some of the games, even though he doesn't have the Triforce, he's able to do amazing things that other people can't.
Right.
And Zelda has great power and her great magic, and because she's a bearer of the Triforce usually.
What? So if I had a Triforce, would I be Batman?
Well, if you had all three and you wished to be Batman, it very well could do it.
That'd be awesome.
So that's that's basically your goal for this, is the fact that Ganon is after power. He wants all 3 Triforces, and the one Triforce has been split, and Zelda's held captive. So in order to get to Ganon, he's basically saying, I have her. If you want to see her again, bring me the Triforce.
Right.
So
the old hostage situation.
Basically, so that's the goal of the first game. The second game, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link.
Okay.
Is a game that some people like.
Okay.
A bunch of people don't like it.
Have you played it?
I have.
Okay.
I have. This was a game, I own the original 2 for the NES.
Okay.
And
before we get into your commentary on it, give us a brief synopsis of the game.
Brief synopsis of the game. As you said earlier, they changed the format.
Right.
Which may be why so many people don't like it.
Right. Well, because it's such a quick, abrupt change visually already. So you're like, whoa, this isn't Zelda. It doesn't look the same way.
So instead of a open, overhead, top down view with scrolling levels, this was a 2D platforming game.
Right.
So definitely granted, it's only the second game in the series, so it's one of the things like, what do you expect? But it's a lot different from the first, so that may have thrown people off.
It did. Plus, to me, it's like, why would you change the format?
But this is also one of the only true sequels for the Zelda franchise, which I will talk about when I talk about the next game or so.
Okay.
So the story of this is, Ganon has been defeated. He is dead.
Right.
And there's rejoice and
there's
peace.
Much rejoicing. Yay.
And then they were forced to eat Link's minstrels, and there was much rejoicing.
Yay!
Anyway, so there's peace across the land of Hyrule.
From Camelot.
And to back it up a little bit, in the first Zelda game, Link is supposedly a lot younger.
Right.
Like that's his first adventure.
Right.
In this game, Link is an adult.
Okay.
So this is an adult Link. And years after Ganon's defeat, for some unknown reason, a wizard has shown up and put a curse on Zelda, where she falls into a deep slumber.
So Sleeping Beauty.
Essentially. So it is up to Link to go across Hyrule and basically shut down, turn to stone, all these temples that are linking to some evil force that he doesn't quite know yet.
Okay.
And he's thinking, perhaps, someone, some way, somehow, is trying to revive Ganon.
Okay.
And he senses that things are after him now because he knows, because he is the hero of Hyrule, the person who holds the Triforce of Courage,
right,
that Ganon, if he's killed, if he is defeated, Ganon will surely return and Hyrule will be destroyed.
Right.
And Princess Zelda will never wake up.
Right. And that can't happen.
And that can't happen. So he is going on a quest to all these temples.
Well, I like the premise of it, actually. It's at least clear and understandable.
So in this game, instead of picking up pieces of Triforce, when you get to the end, when you defeat the monster at the end of the castle, they're usually temples.
Right.
And you get to the end, there's a stone pillar, and you put a crystal in it, and once you leave, the palace is turned to stone.
Okay.
basically blocking off all its evil, and you move on to the next place.
So you're basically okay. So you're shutting down the temple, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So good premise.
So is there a time aspect of it? Like you have to your objective is to shut down all the temples before Ganon is revived.
Not so much. If you die, it has the iconic Ganon has returned, and he laughs at you.
Okay.
Every time you die, all 3 times, like he goes, ah, 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 ah. And it's one of those sounds from the old NES that haunt some people because they hear it so often. Because unfortunately, while this game I think it's a good game.
Okay.
It is fun, and it's got good music, and it's got a good level of exploration.
Right.
But it gets hard far too quick.
Oh, okay.
And the level of difficulty really hurts the game at some points.
Like it doesn't ease you into it like the first one did.
Like the first 2 dungeons and areas are fine.
Okay.
But
then you get to the third.
But then you start having to get basically you really start feeling it once you get to Death Mountain, and it's aptly named because you die a lot.
Death Mountain should be the last one.
But it's not.
Well, I'm just saying if it's called Death Mountain, well, how do you get harder than Death Mountain?
Yeah. So in this game, because it was a different genre kind of, they changed up a bit. So you keep the same sword throughout the whole game.
Okay.
But you add magic to your inventory now as well.
Okay.
And you also level up.
Hey, this sounds a lot like an RPG.
Right. So and so each monster you kill has points that it gives you. Like little blob things give you 2.
Right. So
some
experience points.
Right. Experience points. So some of the harder ones give you 100.
Right.
You get to a certain point, and you can choose what do you want to level up. Do you want to level up your magic? Do you want to level up your health?
So this is an RPG now.
Do you want to level up your attack, your sword?
Right.
So it has an RPG element, but obviously it's not a turn-based system. You are totally free moving the entire time. And
why did I like this game? This incorporates elements of an RPG that I like.
And you still have to progress and find your items.
Yeah.
You still can find hearts and magic containers to help you level up. In addition to,
do they still have the fairy that comes and rings around you and does those hearts?
In this time you just touch the fairy and she regains your health.
Okay.
But she's there.
Yeah. You
can even turn into a fairy for one of your spells. You can't get any health back, but you can turn little and fly around and not get hit by things.
Well, that's at least helpful. Evasive action.
Yep. You can't attack or anything, and once you turn to a fairy, you have to leave the screen in order to turn back.
Oh, well.
So it's one of those things where if you use the spell and you're like, oh, I should have done that, you kind of have to find a way out without getting killed, because you can't really defend yourself. I mean, it's a drawback.
Yeah.
And this game is notoriously hard. A lot of people have a hard time beating it. So this is one of the games I'd never beat until I really sat down, a lot later in life. I was definitely in my teens at that point when I sat down and said, I'm going to beat this game.
Yeah.
Darn it. But I need the internet for help. It's because I would always go to a certain point. It's like, what do I do? Where do I go?
Yeah.
What do I need? Why am I keep dying?
Yeah, that's unfortunate when you have a hard game like that, because it's like, okay, I can get to here, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Right. So it's one of those things where, I like the game, just, if nothing else, for nostalgic value, because, I think it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot harder and a lot more frustrating than the first one.
Well, it sounds like if they had just tweaked it so that you eased into the difficulty much better, then it probably would have been a lot more liked by fans.
Perhaps, but I think the thing is...
Plus, well, yeah, when you change it from a top-down to a platform style...
And that's the only one that's done that. For all the other ones, they've pretty much gone back to the old.
Yeah,
they figured,
people didn't like that.
I mean, we tried it, didn't work, so let's... it was nice to experiment with it.
Yeah.
But let's go back to something we know.
Right.
Which brings us to when they make The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo.
And I at least remember the name. I don't know if I've played this one or not.
And of all the games that I'm not once past this, I'm only going to list the games I have played.
Right.
Because there are a lot of games in the Zelda franchise, which is good.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about the ones that I know, and I'm not going to talk all their story in depth.
Yeah.
But it's now sort of
basic premise, so we understand what
basic premise and what's great about the game, what's okay about the game, or what's maybe not so good about the game. Pros and cons. So The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, hands down one of my favorites.
Okay.
So I'm a little biased. But it's one of those things where not only did it go back to the overhead screen that we know so well,
right.
It was the first time we got to see Link and Zelda and all the characters that we know and love in much better graphics and brought to life so beautifully.
Oh, yes.
Like, the sound was better.
Better graphics is always...
The music was better. You know, what you can do with Zelda and Link was better.
Such as?
Well, you had more items to choose from. You had more versatile stuff you can do.
Okay.
You know, you had a better range of what you could do with him.
Oh, nice.
And the puzzles were more in-depth, and with the added graphics, you could actually see a lot more things and added a lot more visual detail to the puzzle aspect of it. And obviously just the fighting in-game attacks and stuff was a lot better.
Oh, yeah. Because once you improve the graphics, you can do more visually, so that's going to make it more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. And they really went all out in this game because they're like, let's make this because it was one of the among the launch titles for the system. So it was like, obviously you got to make it good.
Well, and plus, I mean, this is, Super Nintendo, the big thing about that was it's 16-bit, not 8-bit. So there's, it's funny, but, when I think about it, the only thing that I really remember up until recently with game systems is you just kept adding better graphics. First it was 8-bit, then it was 16, then it's 32, then it's 64, just getting better and better and better. It's like, but while we just see the graphics, we also take into consideration with better graphics, there's more you can do visually, there's more you can do gameplay-wise. So it does not make sense, let me phrase it. It makes sense to me as to why, okay, I think you said a launch title?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're coming out with a new system, especially Nintendo, you want a recognizable name, Zelda. I have an established franchise. I'm sure they also did a Mario Brothers game because that was an established franchise. Yes. We want it to be a good game. We want it to be something that fans are going to enjoy. But we're going to improve upon what we've done.
And I remember this game very fondly because this was the reason why I say I know it's one of the launch titles, one of two. The other being Super Mario World, is because this is one of the games that came with the system. Yeah. So you had the option. So this was a Christmas present that I wasn't expecting. I talked about this for Christmas. You did. So this was a game, one of the first games I ever played for the Super Nintendo. Yeah. So I have a special love for this game just based on that. But it also helps it's a really great game.
Yeah. It'd be really bad if it was a really crappy game.
So the basic premise of this is sometimes thought of as a prequel to the first Zelda game.
Okay.
Sometimes it's not. Because here's where the Zelda timeline gets iffy.
Okay.
And once I talk about these next two games, because the Link to the Past and Link's Awakening, which is the Game Boy game that you might know, kind of tie into each other.
Okay.
Past this, no, not at all.
Okay. So with Link to the Past,
with Link to the Past, you are a young Link.
Okay.
And
well, that makes sense. The game is titled A Link to the Past, so you should assume this has something to do with past.
Right. So in this game you get a more immersed look at Hyrule.
Okay.
Where you actually get to see towns. I mean, you saw towns in Zelda 2.
Right.
But they weren't as good. Okay. This time you really got immersed.
It was more like in the background sort of thing?
Kind of. In this case, you kind of got more immersed in Hyrule proper.
Okay.
Where you have Hyrule Castle where Zelda lives.
Right.
And its surrounding area. And this game starts with, Link is in bed sleeping. He starts hearing a voice in his dreams.
Yeah.
And it's Zelda crying out, I need help, help. There's the evil wizard is taking all the maidens who have once sealed away an evil in another world, and now they're all disappearing, and I'm the last one. Help, help.
Oh, wow.
And your uncle, who can also hear this, and only people with the longer ears, the true Hyrulean blood, can hear this call. And he tells you, stay in bed, I'm going out for a while. But he takes with him a sword and shield.
Clearly not a beer run.
Clearly. So, you being an adventurous lad and thinking, I don't think so, uncle. You get out of bed, grab your lantern, and head outside into a storm.
That's not very intelligent.
And you find your way to the castle, but it's blocked by guards. So you find a hidden passage and enter into the dungeon.
Oh, cool.
And you work your way through. You see that your uncle has been killed.
Not good.
But in his dying words, he says, I failed. Only you now can save the princess. Save the princess from her fate. And he gives you his sword and shield. And now, you are off to find Zelda, who you find and you rescue, briefly.
Okay. So you do get that first moment of, hey, success, and oh, it's gone. Oh.
Because once you save her, she tells you that the evil wizard, I believe how you pronounce his name is Aghanim.
Okay.
Is apparently working for someone who is much more evil, Ganon.
Ooh, so this definitely does sound like a prequel, at least in setup wise, because working for someone more evil, Ganon, and then we lead on to another storyline.
And you need to find the Master Swords. They really played the idea of your weapon is now the thing. Like they kind of played into it a little bit in the first Zelda game where you progressed.
Right. Because you would have the wooden sword and then the metal sword.
The wooden sword, I believe it's the silver sword, and then the master sword or magic sword.
Yeah, magic sword, that's what it was.
Right. So the idea is, okay, first you got to get the 3 pendants, guarded by guardians, big monsters.
Okay.
And once you get the 3
Polar
pendants... bears. I wish it was polar bears. That would have been a lot more cute and easy. Instead of fighting, statues that come to life, giant worms, and some really giant worm.
That sounds cool too, though. Actually,
I mean, they are fun to fight. Anyway,
actually, as I'm listening to this, I'm like, man, I got to talk to my friend Mike about writing a Zelda RPG.
It would work
for tabletop role playing.
I mean, there's plenty of
or LARPing. That would be pretty cool. Zelda LARPing. That'd be awesome.
I mean, there's a lot of content you could use for that. I'm sure they would be easy to do. So once you get all the pendants, you were able to take the sword out of its stone, Sword in the Stone, and now you have the ultimate weapon. But as you are leaving the forest that was in, you hear another message from Zelda, and she's being captured. Aghanim has found her because she was hiding in a church.
Okay.
And you rush to her, but too late. He has sent her to the Dark World.
Ooh, cool.
And now, even though you were able to defeat the wizard, in his dying breath, he sends you to the Dark World. In the Dark World, in this game is also... The Triforce wasn't mentioned as much in the last game, and this one it's much more present.
Okay.
And the reason why you have a light world, as we'll call it, and a dark world, is because many years ago when the Triforce and the essence of basically the tri-gods of the creation, so adding more lore and myth to the world of Hyrule, when they created the world, they basically, they left behind the Triforce in the basically premise of if whoever gets to it and touches it, and their inner wish and inner desire will be granted. A thief and murderer named Ganondorf got to it first. And he wished to rule the world. And because it was such a powerful wish, it couldn't do it in one go.
Right.
So it created an alternate dark universe for him. And then he tried to muster his power and take over the light world, but he failed and was sealed away in the dark world. But all the descendants of the people who sealed him in, all the wizards, all their descendants were sent to the dark world, thus weakening the barrier.
Cool.
And Zelda was the last one to be sent. So now it is a race to not only save all the people who were sent to the Dark World, including Zelda, but prevent Ganon and stop him
from
fulfilling his wish of taking over the world.
Wow, what a great setup.
Yeah, so...
This is a great story!
It is. So you have all that in a simple... And it's not like, they have this gigantic thing of wall of text.
Right.
You progress through it, you live through it, you play through that story.
You play through the story so that... Wow.
And each and every single person you save helps unlock a piece of that story.
Yeah.
Helps give you direction of where to go and helps you give purpose.
I can see why you like this game so much.
It's a good game. That's why I say, if a good game has a good story to it, I'll play it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, I've played it a lot. I've played that game probably more than any of my other Super Nintendo games, and I'll happily play it again.
Yeah.
I know the story, sure. I know where everything is. I don't care. It's a fun game.
Yeah. When you go back for the experience of... It's kind of like I was telling my girlfriend, sometimes there are some movies that are just comfort movies. Like, you had a bad day at work or something, or you just want to go back in time and reminisce. Like, you go back to that game or that movie, and
again, because this game is so beautifully put together, both visuals and music, you get immersed.
You get immersed, and it's almost like living through a movie.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot to find, a lot to do, and
you're making me want to play this game.
And of course, the nice thing is you get an item called the Magic Mirror, which lets you go back and forth between worlds because basically anything because they are connected. Yeah. So if you do one thing in one of the worlds, it'll affect the other.
Oh, cool.
So
they're almost parallel dimensions.
They are. So for example, in order to get into one of the dungeons or labyrinths, as you like to call them, it's one of the water temples.
Okay.
In the light world, there's a basic one that has a big lake, but you can drain some of the water. Now in the dark world, it's totally flooded. You can't get in. But if you drain the water in the light world, you can get in the dark world.
Oh, cool.
Other things that you can, if you move it or do something in the light world or vice versa, it'll change and affect how you can progress.
Oh, nice.
So you have the idea of, it doesn't work here.
So that adds a whole new dimension to the puzzle aspect.
Right. So you have to think of, it doesn't work now, but if I leave and go back to the same area and do something, will it change it in this dungeon?
I'll tell you one thing, the Japanese know how to make games.
Yeah. I mean, and really, credit goes to Miyamoto for his influence and ideas, because he heavily influences these games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this and Mario are the ones that, if he puts it out and his name is attached, it's probably going to be a good game.
Yeah.
It will be the best ever? Maybe.
But it's going to be good.
I mean, the thing is they've made so many high benchmarks, they can't always get to it.
Right. You can't always have A's.
So some of the not as good Zelda games, they're still good games for the most part.
And that's another thing to keep in mind. It's I
mean, especially with the first Zelda game, A Link to the Past, and Ocarina of Time, which I'll mention later. Those are high benchmarks to reach.
Yeah. And as we've discovered in our own creative efforts, or in looking at other creative efforts, once you reach a high benchmark, you got to allow yourself to not necessarily fail, but fall a little bit sometimes. And even if you fall, it's look at the competition. Guess if you've got your straight A student that makes 98s on every test, and the rest of the class is making 72s, but that straight A student makes a 84. Well, yeah, that student's not as good as they normally are, but it's still better than the rest.
Yeah. So, again, great game. If I tell anyone, beating a dead horse if I tell any more because they'll be talking about, in this dungeon you do this, this dungeon you do that. It's a good game.
No, but you know what?
It's a good game.
This is probably one of the first times where I'm like, dude, I want to play this game.
And the nice thing is, to really also to kind of compliment and kind of look back at the one that came before this one, Zelda 2.
Right.
The difficulty is a lot better.
The progression.
The progression of difficulty is much, much better.
Right.
Like once you start getting to the higher levels, it gets harder, but not ridiculous hard.
Right. And another thing about the difficulty levels, it's kind of like life. If we look at ourselves now, where we are in our lives, and we look at the things we do as far as like work and juggling all this and that, it's like you do kind of take a step back and you look back and think back to high school and you're like, I do a lot more now, or I deal with things now that I would never even thought that I could deal with back in high school, but it's because you progress so much as you go through and you ease yourself in. I mean, we don't do that, we don't have an abrupt change in difficulty in life, so why do it in a game?
Right. Now, some people like to add their own challenges in these Zelda games. For example, in the first game, I have to make mention of this because so many people have tried it. Trying to beat the game, or at least get to the last area without using the sword.
Yeah.
Now that is a challenge I myself have never tried because I know me. I would get so sick of trying to dodge things and kill things with bombs, hoping they would walk into them. I'd be like, give me my sword. Give me my wooden sword.
I will say I've never beaten the game once, so I'm good with just playing it the way it is.
But our friend Steven had gotten quite far with doing the swordless challenge.
How far did he get?
I think he got to at least level 5.
Okay.
But I think he was like, it gets to a point where I really need something other than my arrows and bombs.
And boomerang.
Because the boomerang only kills like the really weak enemies, like the bats,
which
aren't called bats, they're called something else. I don't know why they came up with weird names. And the bombs are tricky because you set them and they detonate, but unless they're right there, you don't get them.
Right. And the sword, especially with the sword, if you got full health, you can shoot them. Which I was like, I don't know how I'm shooting swords, but this is awesome.
Right.
And then you can deal with close up, and it's your standard weapon. It doesn't go away.
Right.
So I applaud those who have tried this challenge, but it is a bit foolish in the sense of you are kind of taking something away from the game when you don't use what they give you.
Right. So for the Link to the Past, they'll try to do things like not getting any of the better equipment.
Okay.
You have to get the sword to progress.
Right.
So you have to get the Master Sword to progress.
Right.
Now there are 2 more upgrades for the sword, but you don't have to get them.
Okay.
They're optional. And there are other shields you can get. They're optional.
Yeah.
Some of the equipment you don't have to get.
Right.
So you do have options not to get it. Also, this game is also innovative because it included features that have been since included in all the next games.
Okay.
For example, in this game was the first game that allowed you to pick up your bombs and throw them.
Oh, cool.
So
As
again,
opposed to just planting it right there.
Right. So again, adds to the puzzle strategy because in some of the later stages there are conveyor belts and there are switches.
Nice.
The only way to get to those switch is a bomb. So you have to pick it up and position yourself just right to throw the bomb
On the conveyor belt.
on the conveyor belt. Not only on the right spot,
but to time it
as well.
with the conveyor belt so it goes to the... Oh, that is awesome.
This is also a game where if you hold on to your bomb and
it's going to blow up
and let it explode on you, you're going to get hurt because it's a bomb.
Why are you holding a bomb?
Because some days you just can't
Get rid of a bomb. Thank you, sir.
This is also the first game that allowed you to do a spin attack with your sword. Cool. It also included, ideas of picking things up other than just the bomb. So we
have to pick a day to play this game. I'm tired of talking about it. I mean, I'm not tired of talking about it, but it's like, okay, there's only so much we can do about talking about it. We need to play the game.
Right. Well, this has also been ported on the Game Boy, so I can let you borrow it.
Okay. Cool.
So, speaking of Game Boy, excellent segue too.
Yes.
Link's Awakening. I believe this is the first Game Boy game for Zelda, I believe.
I believe so too, because the name sounds familiar. I can't remember if I have the game or if my brother had the game, but one of us had the game.
Now this one sort of takes place maybe between one of these games. Basically,
Okay.
Link is on a journey to improve himself.
Okay.
Just journeying around, he's at sea. His ship is struck by lightning during a bad storm, and he wakes up on an island. On the top of this island is a giant egg. He doesn't know why, but as he learns from its inhabitants, it is the egg of the windfish. And all those who get on the island cannot get off because apparently it is a dream of the windfish. The only way to get off is to wake it up. But the monsters want to keep it asleep because they want the land. It's the basic premise.
I know. I'm just like, wow, this does not sound as interesting as the other.
I mean, it's a different plot because this is this is also the first game that does not include Zelda.
I was going to say.
Or the Triforce or Ganon.
Because honestly, those are the elements that I really like about Zelda. That's what I liked about the first one. That's what I liked about listening to you talk about Link to the Past. It's like, yeah, take the princess, the MacGuffin, and the bad guy away. You don't have me.
The thing is...
Plus, Windfish sounds silly and stupid.
The thing is, like, on paper, or, like, just my basic premise, it doesn't sound as good.
Okay.
But believe it or not, it is a pretty good Zelda game.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of adventure, and they also included innovative things as well. And you had a good sense of progression, and as the story kind of unfolded, you kind of got a sense of, okay, well, there is a sense of purpose to not just getting off the island.
Okay.
So, like, as you play it, it's a better game than I'm hyping it up to be.
Okay.
This is the first game where you can actually opt not to hold your sword.
Okay.
Where you can sheath it, and you can have a different item in its place.
Okay.
So, for example, you can hold, and you can also not have your shield.
Right.
So you could, and for the most part of the game, you probably don't want it because all you can do is block. This is the first game where Link can jump.
Oh, cool.
Where you hit a button and he'll jump if you have the right item equipped.
Right.
And so you can actually jump and, let's say, throw a boomerang at the same time.
Nice.
Those are your two weapons that you're holding. So you can interchange.
Oh, cool.
So again, that adds to the puzzle aspect of it.
Yeah.
So this one really got the idea of, let's do a puzzle game with Zelda, but still keep the adventure aspect. So this had more puzzles to it.
Okay.
And more things you can find and unlock.
Right.
And I say unlock in terms of, like, if you find certain items and enough of them, you get more stuff.
Yeah.
So it is a good game. I do enjoy it, and it has a very, like, of the few Game Boy games I had, it has a very nice, as part for the course, a very nice soundtrack to it.
Yeah. Well, I would hope so, given the fact that we had such a nice soundtrack for the others.
Because, like, instead of picking up Triforce pieces or picking up, captured people or pendants,
right,
you are now picking up instruments.
Okay.
To play the Song of Awakening.
Okay.
For the Windfish. And once you play all of these instruments, the egg opens and you have to go inside because what's inhabiting the island and trying to take it over is nightmares.
Oh.
The aspect of a nightmare, trying to take over and not only take control of the island, but get out to the larger world and spread their evil.
That's actually kind of a cool idea. That sounds a little better, at least.
Yeah, so that's why I said, like...
I still miss the other elements, but I can. It does at least
You
sound
do,
pretty
but,
good.
and, you do have the idea of there's a girl that you see in your mind because it's maybe a dream, resembles Zelda. She's not Zelda.
Okay.
But she's a key player in the game.
Okay.
She teaches you the Song of Awakening.
Right.
And this is the first game... I mean, it's not the first game that to incorporate the ocarina. Link to the Past did.
Okay.
But this is the first one to really make it important.
Okay.
Because the previous games, like in the first game, you had the flute.
Yeah.
And that acted
and
as
you had to play the flute to, like, stop one of the types of villains. Or types of creatures.
I think you can do that, but it's on the main world map, it's transportation.
Okay.
Where you play it and, like, the tornado comes and you zips by and it places you somewhere else. In the second game, it basically just has, like, one use, so it's almost a useless item. But you have to use it to progress.
Okay.
Because there's a monster blocking you and you play it and it goes away.
Okay.
And you go. Not really all that useful. In the third game, Link to the Past, goes back to being a transportation thing, and it's very, very handy.
Okay.
In this game, you actually need it to do things.
Okay.
So it does act as transportation, but it's also the key to awakening the fish, and there's another aspect that it has too. I forget what else it does.
Yeah.
It may summon something or other.
Summoning!
I forget what it is exactly, and I'm sure Zelda's like, it's this! You're calling yourself a Zelda fan, you can't remember. It's like, I'm sorry. I haven't
He's not
played
good
this
with
one.
words. I'm just teasing. No, I know what it's like. Sometimes, it's on the tip of your tongue and you just can't remember. But that thing
Right.
on the wing. Something. I'm
On the
sorry,
wing.
what were you saying?
I know it's there. Anyway, I do enjoy it. I haven't played this one as much as some of the others, but I do play it periodically, and I do enjoy it. I do find it's a good game. Now,
That's good.
we had some time between games now,
Okay.
and then things got amped up
All right.
because we go to 64.
Nice.
And they introduce Ocarina of Time, which I consider a game changer for
Okay.
a lot of reasons.
All right. Please indulge.
Ocarina of Time has nothing to do with the past games, so you start a new trend.
Okay.
So this is where Zelda games become their own self-contained story. Sometimes it may have influences on the other, but for the most part, we are no longer really dealing with a timeline.
Okay. So is it like kind of like a random adventure but using the same characters?
Well, I would say it's more of this is its own story. It has maybe it's an alternate universe, maybe it's an alternate world, maybe alternate something, but it's not these. It's you have Zelda, Link, and Ganon again, and the Triforce again.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm realistically looking for. Is do you have those four main components?
You have those things,
Okay.
but they are not as part of the timeline of these last games. So
That's fine.
It's its own story.
I'm okay with not having a timeline, but at least the four main elements.
Yes. So in this case, you start off as a young boy
Okay.
Link again,
All right.
and you start getting visions of a princess in distress.
Okay.
So similar, but in this case, you are in a village that is inhabited by people who all have fairies as their companions.
Okay.
You are a boy without one, for some reason.
Okay.
Then one day, a fairy comes to you. Her name is Navi, who will go down in history. I'll tell you later. And she
Okay.
tells you, hey, listen, forever in the game, which is why she's one of the most annoying video game characters, but
Okay.
because everything, she's like, hey, listen, hey, shut up, hey.
Anyway,
She tells you, you gotta come with me. We gotta save the princess. And you're like, what princess? Like, I'm here. This is my home.
I didn't know we had a princess. I didn't vote for her.
Yeah, so it's like, well, come with me to the Deku Tree, because you're in the Deku Forest.
Okay.
And the Deku Tree, who is all wise, will tell you what's more. And you go to him, and he starts telling you what's going on. And you find, as you leave, you realize, okay, I was not one of these people here. I'm not one of them. But I have this greater thing, and now I'm experiencing the world. I go to the castle, and you see Zelda. And she's outside in the courtyard, and she's looking at someone. And she tells you, hey, come here. I've seen you before in my dreams.
Yeah.
But come here. Look in there. Because he's going to play a part in all of our futures. And you
Okay.
see Ganon.
Oh.
And he is kneeling to the current king, who I don't think you see. But she says he is the man who will one day soon try to take over everything, and it's going to be up to you. I know it. I felt it. That you were going to have to stop him some way, somehow.
Okay.
And true to her words, not long after that, he tries to take her, and as they're riding off into the distance because he's on a horse,
Right.
and you're trying to catch up to them, she tosses you an ocarina and says, use this. It'll come in handy.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
So you pick up the ocarina, which will play a key part in this game. Because now, instead of dealing with alternate worlds,
Dealing with alternate times.
you are alternate times. Because once you progress enough, go through a couple temples as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and you find the sword.
Right.
Once you pull it out of its stone
Right.
in this temple, once it's in your hand, you realize, I'm now an adult. At least 10 years or so have gone by since I've pulled the sword out, and I've been here, and the world as I know it, has been changed, because Ganon is in power.
Oh wow.
So now you have to go travel back and forth between time
Now,
and unlock people who can help you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are they using... Okay, so The Legend of Zelda is like the first movie. I'm going to use a movie analogy here.
Okay.
Okay? So The Legend of Zelda is the first movie. The Adventure of Link is its sequel. Link to the Past was the prequel.
Right.
Okay? Link's Awakening was kind of like the spin-off.
Yes.
Ocarina of Time is like, it sounds like you're jumping around the time period of the first three. Like, it's its own story, but it sounds like you're jumping back and forth in the time period of that.
Not really, because it's basically if those games that you mentioned are, original, sequel, prequel,
Right.
spin-off. This is reboot.
Okay.
Brand new series.
Okay. See, that makes sense. I think in this case, the movie analogy makes a lot more sense.
So this would be its basic reboot.
Okay.
Because it has nothing. That's why I said it has nothing to do with the previous.
It's like you're using the same components, but in a new way.
Yes.
In a new story. Okay.
So and they're basically, because it has the 64-bit.
Right.
It expands upon the game greatly.
Yes.
Now, because it's Nintendo 64, it does have that odd. It looks good, but it kind of looks weird graphic, like the blocky,
Yeah.
polygonish graphic.
Right.
Well, it looks nice. They did a good job with it. Looking back at it, it's kind of
It's kind
looking,
of blocky.
but you still kind of like it for that. Like
Yeah.
it's its own. It has its charm now. Like it was great looking then. It's still nice looking now.
Oh yeah, it's like looking at GoldenEye.
Yeah,
On the N64. It's like at the time we're like, this is awesome. Looking back, it's like, not so much.
but still pretty good.
Yeah.
Like for what it is. So
Yeah.
it still looks great, and obviously the sound. My God, great soundtrack.
Oh yes.
I'll be probably saying that for every single game I mention. It's a great soundtrack. And, this is the first game where you actually can ride a horse. Because it has such a huge area to explore. Hyrule is massive.
Yeah, and you don't want to try to go by foot all the time.
You could, but you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, because you would never get anywhere.
It
At
would
least
take
in a reasonable amount of time. So you'd end up with games that are just about walking.
Or, sometimes running and collecting coins, but hey.
Yeah.
So, it's a massive game from start to finish, so basically everything feels like it's big.
Yeah.
Like the caverns are big. The puzzles, are a lot more challenging this time around.
Right.
Because you have so much more areas of depth where you have a better perspective. So instead of just being, it's here, it's a top-down, you have it more 3D. It's the first 3D-ish game.
So this, I imagine this was a third-person.
No, we basically saw Link like this.
Okay, so it's top-down. Okay.
It's still kind of top-down, but it's in 3D in terms of,
I got you.
if you look up, screen will go up. If you look side to side, it'll move side to side.
I got you. Okay.
So with this, because of all this, all of your gameplay is affected by it. So,
Right.
Instead of when you shoot your bow, it just goes straight in the direction you're facing, you can actually aim.
Right.
And time your shots.
Right.
And even go for where you
Angle up
and it
get
will go for distance.
Longer distance. Yeah.
So those things are included. You have your hook shot, the thing that basically a chain on a hook that can grapple you over to places. That
Right.
too, can be angled so you can go diagonally instead of just forward and backwards.
Yeah.
The way you swing your sword can have a great effect on just
The way you swing your
the way
sword.
you swing it. Yeah.
I like this game already.
Thank you, Sean.
No problem. It's a good thing Alex Trebek is not here.
I'll take swords for 300. That's S words. Don't tell me what it is. I'm an actor. Swords. So this is basically what I would probably what I and a lot of other people would consider one of the best, not the best, because I'm sure a lot of people will say GoldenEye, but certainly among the best games on the Nintendo 64, hands down.
I will say this much about this game. I have not played it, but I have heard so much about it from friends.
That's hard to deny.
that it's kind of like, wow, apparently this was a really big game and I missed out.
It was a big deal at the time because, it's one of those things where Mario 64 was a great game.
And here's
it was
the
certainly
thing.
a landmark game.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
Young boy I know from theater. He's probably about 11 or 12. He's a big Zelda fan. He's a gamer. Even he knows about the game. And this was before he was born. So, obviously, it was something big.
Well, to jump around a little bit, because
Okay.
I feel now is a good time to talk about this. They've put this is one of the games that they chose to port to the 3DS.
Okay.
So this is a game that's on that system.
So that would not be surprised for newer generations like this boy who has a DS, I no doubt, since that's what a lot of kids are playing. Boot it to the 3DS so that they can experience these great games in a new format.
Yes. And of course, this game is also available on the Virtual Console. So.
And and just from a business side, this makes really a lot of sense for Nintendo. That's two games they know were successful in the past. They can repackage it, give folks a new experience with the 3DS, and they don't have to go into all the development and spend all that money to develop a new game.
I mean, I think they did add things to the game.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they revamp them to some extent,
Yeah.
but it's a lot easier to take something that's already made. You've got the story, you've got the soundtrack, you've got everything there. It's just a matter of, okay, let's modify a couple things to really make it work within this system better, and you're gonna have and it's cost effective, really.
Right. And to give you an idea of just how influential this game could be,
Okay.
whereas people, even someone famous that you would know of, has a great love for the game.
Okay.
Actor-comedian Robin Williams revealed in an interview with Jimmy Fallon that his daughter, Zelda Ray, is named after the title character in the series.
It's freaking awesome.
In 2011, and I've seen this,
Okay.
and I think it is truly, you have to see it, because
Okay.
it's awesome.
Okay. We'll have to post this.
Both he and his daughter starred together in an advertisement for Ocarina of Time 3D.
Oh, that's awesome.
And basically, it's Robin Williams basically talking about how he is going on a quest for Zelda, and how has to go over the fields and all this, and his daughter's like, Dad, are you confusing me with the game again? He's like, well, you're both magical.
Oh, that's so nice. What a great comedic but yet endearing term.
Right, so Robin Williams is a great big fan of the series.
Awesome.
And obviously, this is one of the games he likes.
Yeah, clearly if he's naming his daughter after her.
Right. So
He must have an awesome wife to let him do that.
and it's a nice commercial.
Yeah.
It's one of those games. It's one of those commercials where he doesn't have to be funny because he's really kind of embodying how you feel when you play the game. Because it is a big adventure.
Yeah.
And that's because it's so big in terms of just how long it is and how immersive it is.
Right.
I consider that it's a big adventure game.
Oh, yeah.
Puzzles aside, it's an adventure.
Oh, the thing is, I mean, if you look at the original and you look at just the way you described Link to the Past, which just makes me want to play that game and just, oh my god, that's amazing. And even the newer one, I don't remember what the name of that one is, but there was a brand new one that came out
I think Wind Waker? No. Wind Waker's for the first one they did for the DS, but I don't have that one.
No, this is for the Wii.
Yeah, it's I know what it is. It's something else.
It's the one for the Wii.
Yeah.
The brand new one for the Wii. My friend Sarah, her sister has it for her daughters. Or they have the system, but their daughters play it, even though they're 6 years old. And I was watching them play it, and I was like, just the way that it looks, the graphics. I mean, it looks like a medieval adventure game, and it's always been that. It's always been medieval, fantasy adventure.
And it works.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with an adventure game.
Right. So, I mean, honestly, I could probably say a lot of things about Ocarina of Time, but, it's already been said by a lot of people. So, no point in me talking about it
The last thing you want to do is, do something somebody else did.
Right. And kind of here's where I have a bit of a fall-off, where I didn't play its follow-up, which was Majora's Mask.
Okay.
And I didn't kind of play a lot of some of the ones that came afterwards.
Okay.
For whatever reason. I just either didn't have the money or I didn't have the appropriate system.
Or time.
I did play Phantom Hourglass for the DS.
Okay.
And that one, and I believe it was Wind Waker that came before it, also have a tweak to the game, where it's, again, a reboot sort of thing.
Okay.
And it's different character styles. Like, on Super Smash Bros., you see Toon Link.
Okay.
This is the games he's in.
Okay.
What's different about these two games is, instead of being on the fields of Hyrule,
right,
you were on a ship.
Okay.
So now you're exploring the seas of Hyrule.
Okay.
Now for Phantom Hourglass, the one I've played, you were mostly, instead of, you go from island to island looking for the temples.
Okay.
And the Triforce does have a hand in it, and I think Ganon was in the first one.
Okay.
But I don't remember if he's in the second.
Okay.
Because I only played it once, and I'll tell you why. And Zelda is in the game, kinda.
Okay.
Where you meet a girl named Tetra, and she ends up being Zelda.
Okay.
But she doesn't know it. She's basically born Zelda, but apparently
called Tetra.
But she went on her own life. Either
right.
I forget exactly what the story was, but basically the circumstance being she didn't grow up in a castle. She went on a life of adventure for some reason.
Okay.
And was known as Tetra. She didn't even know she was princess.
All right.
But you meet up. Fate, destiny brings you together anyway.
Okay.
As it is. I liked Phantom Hourglass, but I also didn't like Phantom Hourglass.
What did you not like about it?
The thing is, here's where I'm going to show my age a bit, or I like buttons.
Okay.
I like playing with buttons. That makes me feel more in control.
Yeah.
Now, I'm fine with the Wii, with its motion control, because there's still some buttons I can press.
Yeah.
The 3DS, not the 3DS, the DS Hourglass one,
Right.
mostly with the stylus.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. And honestly, I remember when I first saw that system come out, I'm like, you use a stylus to, it's like, I didn't like the concept of using the stylus to control a game, because to me it's like,
yeah.
why do I, no, I want to push, because if you push a button, you know it's going to affect the game a certain way. When you use a stylus, what am I going to do, draw pictures on there and it's going to come to life? That's about all I could see a game doing.
I mean, like, and so you tap to move him, like, you know, tap over here, he moves there. You do this with your, you swing your stylus. Now you like on the screen, he'll swing his sword.
Right, you touch it, you swing it.
You know, you move it a certain way, he'll spin around a certain way. You know, that was kind of okay, but I kind of wished they would kind of make it an option. Like, you can switch that off and just control them naturally.
Right.
Because to me, I kind of felt that game was hard just based on the fact that I'm not good with the stylus.
Right.
And there were even parts where, like, you get there's a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's either to unlock a door, or you draw it on the map and it'll take you there, or unlock something.
Okay.
And it gives you a shape to draw. I wasn't very good at that, apparently, because I would try to draw the shape, and it's like, no. I'm like, but I'm doing the shape. I'm not an artist.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a lot harder just based on that. So it's an okay game, but I don't care for it as much.
Yeah.
I don't regret buying and playing it. I felt it was a good experience, and I did want to play a new Zelda game.
Right.
But I just didn't care for it.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you make a change like that, so the gameplay itself is different, and it doesn't work with. I think that's sort of the trick with something like that, is you have to make it something that everyone can do. And if you're not a good artist, that should not affect your ability to play a game.
Or if you just don't have that great motor skills, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, if you can push a button, the thing should work. I'm kind of with you on the button thing.
Now, again, like, because Nintendo is the trendsetter, they like to play with new technology. That's kind of its...
Right.
It's a double-edged sword, I feel, because, yeah, they're good at being innovators, but sometimes don't fix what isn't broken.
Yeah. Well...
Like, look, I understand the stylus is a good tool for, like, the games that apply to it.
To be fair, you never really know how something's going to work until you try it.
Yeah. So I'm not complaining. It's just one of those things where it's kind of the, you know...
Well,
Nintendo tried motion before, and it failed miserably with the Power Glove. So sometimes it takes refinement. Sometimes it takes refinement.
Well, it takes refining, and you know what? It's like anything else. You try, you fail. You try, you fail. But you know, you look at how it failed, what failed about it. You refine that, and I mean, let's face it. The stylus that's been out for a while, and I don't know of them using that anymore. So they got rid of it.
I mean, the thing is, it's not so much they've gotten rid of it. They have the 3DS now.
Right.
So they're playing with the 3D technology.
Right.
Which I don't have it.
Which, from what I understand, has been a good, positive experience for people, simply because it's not so much... And it's funny, because when we think of 3D, because we're as old as we are, we immediately think, pop out in your face. But that's not what it is. It's kind of like, you know, with 3D movies, it makes you feel like you're there. With a 3DS, you feel like the game is, like, inside, like there's depth to it.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, it's a good experience for people. They're like, holy crap, it looks like it's inside my DS, and it's not like it's just there on a screen. So that's been pretty positive. That's also a more reliable technology. Yes, you're giving something new and you're setting a new trend, but you're not going so far off the realm of, oh, now we're going to make you play with a stylus. No more button pushing. So I think that's, you do want to innovate, you do want to trend set, but you want to make sure that it's going to be successful. Not so much that it's going to work, but be successful.
You know, it's something to try.
Because, yeah, you got to try it out, because, for instance, you know, the stylus thing, it worked, but it just wasn't successful because people didn't respond to it the way that they were. Maybe it was just like, you know what, we're going to try this, we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't.
I mean, it depends on the game. I mean, I wouldn't call it a failure. It's just...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. They hit 80.
Yeah, you know?
Wasn't as good as their usual 95s, but it's still better than the rest.
Right. So, obviously, I don't have any of the newer Zelda games. I would like, certainly, to try some of the newer ones, like the one that came out, which a lot of people seem to like quite a bit.
That's the one for the Wii, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That looks pretty good. But Link does appear in other things. And Zelda herself, like Smash Brothers.
Smash Brothers!
So which was, both all three characters.
That would have been cool if Hulk
Link.
said that at some point in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Hulk want to play Smash Brother.
No, if he just says, Smash Brothers, pointing to Loki and Thor.
You couldn't see that, but it was basically, Hulk grabbed both.
If he had Hulk, or if Hulk had Hulk, if Hulk had Loki in one hand and Thor in the other.
Hulk have Hulk, Hulk have mini-me.
Oh, funny story. You know how they have the new the superhero Legos?
Yeah.
Where they have the Hulk, where they have like the bigger Hulk? They actually, they were doing a promotion where you can get a mini Hulk. So you could have Hulk and mini Hulk, and you could have a mini-me.
So Zelda, Link, and Ganon all appear in the latest Smash Bros. Game.
Yeah, the one
And
we played.
Link has been present in all the Smash Bros. Games thus far.
Cool.
Which makes sense because he's a flagship Nintendo character.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. So, of all those games,
Of all those games.
give me a ranking of your top 3.
That's a tough one.
I know, but you can do it.
Well, just from...
All right, well, let's clarify this, eh? Because I could say what's your best, this sort of thing. What's the one out of all those that you would go back to and play the most?
That would definitely be a Link to the Past.
Okay.
That is a game I've played the most and will continue to do so.
Okay. What's your, out of all those, which one do you have the most favorite memories of?
Can I...
It doesn't have to be a different one.
That's what I said. Like, that's probably my favorite game. But if, like I said, I'll try to rank them as what I feel are my favorites.
Well, no, that's why I said let me clarify, because I feel like, you can really put them in different categories other than just, well, what's the best and favorite, So what's the one you have the most fond memories of?
Link to the Past.
Okay, all right. Well, like I said, it can be the same one. Of all those, what's your favorite storyline?
My favorite storyline? Probably Ocarina of Time.
Okay. With the jumping around of the time?
Yeah.
Sort of
I
thing?
mean, that was the one where because I didn't own a 64 when everyone else did, I played this one a lot later.
Okay.
When I was in my late teens, early 20s, so I got a better feel for it.
Okay.
So I kind of got a better experience with playing it the first time around.
What's your favorite weapon in all these games?
My favorite weapon? Well, I mean, obviously you have the sword. That's standard for everything. But
Yeah.
my favorite, item to go with it, I would say. I like the hook shot, believe it or not.
What's a hook shot?
It's like the grappling hook.
Oh, okay. Does it have like a gun that shoots out a hook?
Kind of, yeah.
Awesome!
I mean, it's obviously not. It's medieval times, so it's not really a gun, but it's basically
Right.
you have a handle that you hold on to. Here's
Okay.
basically a chamber that holds all the chain.
Okay.
You have it's mostly usually like a spike,
Okay.
and so when you squeeze it, it shoots out the chain and spike, and if
So it might as well be a grappling hook.
yeah,
Awesome.
and
Really awesome.
Because not only can you go from ledges or get to bridges you can't normally get to, it also kills enemies and grabs items for you.
Well, yeah, I
It's a
would hope
handy
so. It's like Scorpion's hook.
I would say
here.
for like a second the boomerang,
Yeah.
tried and true boomerang.
Can't go wrong with a boomerang and a sword and a grappling hook.
Yep.
Or just a boomerang and a grappling hook.
Or a bomb or two, good stuff.
Bomb.
A bomb.
Of these games
That I have played.
that you have played, what would you say? And I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this. Obviously, the graphics get better with each game because you
Yes.
get some. But aside from that, like the overall look of your main characters of Link, Zelda, Ganon, the overall look design, I guess is what I would say. The overall design, not so much try to put the graphics aside. The overall design, which one would be your favorite?
This is a bit tricky, but I'll give my best answer for it in terms of what I think is, to me, more standout-ish.
Okay.
While A Link to the Past is beautiful,
Mhm.
it's a great-looking game, it's very colorful, very vivid,
Right.
I do really like the idea of, when you play Ocarina of Time,
Mhm.
you have different character designs for all the time periods.
Okay.
Where, you change your look, like, when Link ages, he looks, aged.
Older.
When Zelda is chic. You even though I knew who she was,
Right.
like if you had never played that game and heard nothing about it, you wouldn't know about it until the very end of the game,
Right.
when she reveals herself. Even Ganon, who starts off as a man, when you fight him at the end, you fight him as a man first, then he becomes a beast, So you have these character changes that, in the game, and like all the stuff around, like all the, it's not as bright as the other. So you have a bit more, I'm not going to say detailed, yes, but I'm also going to say it's less cartoony.
Okay.
So you have a more...
So it's a little more realistic looking.
A little. I mean, obviously it's 64 and still has that, graphic-y thing, but it's still a great-looking game and nice. And you got to have a more feel of, okay, I am really on a giant field. I'm really in a desert.
Okay.
I'm really, by this lake. I'm underwater. Like, the water looks good.
Yeah.
So on that note, that's the game I would pick for graphic-wise, how I kind of would say that's a
Well, it doesn't sound
Zelda thing.
like not so much graphic-wise, but design-wise.
Yeah, design. So I feel that one was good. I mean, definitely a good second would be the Link to the Past, just because, as I said, it's a beautifully made game.
Right. Okay, so do you have any questions for me?
Well, I mean, the thing is
I don't want to sit here and drill you all night.
That's fine. I mean, the thing is, like, you haven't really played these games, other than, like, the couple.
Well, but that's okay. I mean...
Well, is there anything from these series, or any of these games in particular, that really stand out to you, that, even though you're not a gamer, you should, kind of know about, or have heard about, or even can say, oh, that was influenced by Zelda? Anything like that?
Well... As far as things that were influenced by Zelda, I mean, I don't know if it's so much the thing. I think I'm gonna try to clarify this. It's easier to think than say. Zelda came at a point where it's this medieval fantasy setting. You have the hero, you have the princess, you have the MacGuffin of the Triforce, you have the bad guy who wants to, he either wants to get the Triforce to control the world, or he's got these two worlds, the light world and the dark world, and he's got the dark world under control, but he's trying to do this, or, you're not sure where he's at with Ocarina of Time, and you're going back and forth. But I think it's that other things have influenced Zelda, and Zelda has influenced other things. It's almost like a synergy, I feel. Because while I myself know about Zelda from growing up and playing the original game, I can't tell you, I mean, we both work in school, so we see, young kids, anybody younger than us, for instance, at the time, and we see their influence, the fact that there's a number of kids out there who play the games. And the fact is, while that's not the Zelda we grew up with the original, they're still getting the Zelda experience. And I think as long as they're getting a good adventure game, medieval fantasy setting, they're going to get something out of it, which will in turn, when they grow up and get older, it's going to be something they're interested in. And so that's going to continue to fuel the game industry as well as the movie industry. I mean, the reason I say that other things have influenced Zelda, well, Lord of the Rings is a medieval fantasy adventure. And that was, 1940s, 1930s, 1940s? Mm-hmm. And, that influenced Dungeons and Dragons, which just came out in the 70s, which influenced, I'm probably, to some extent, just because of time, this all kind of is working chronologically, probably came to influence Zelda, or at least the idea of this medieval fantasy setting adventure. Right. With the components I mentioned, and we've seen how we've seen a number of movies, so we know that at some point they did try to do medieval fantasy adventure movies, but it wasn't until the Lord of the Rings movies came out that the public took notice. They took notice with Zelda. Why? Well, it's because you were able to play as it, and they changed it up once, enough so that you were getting a new experience each time, and it was quality writing. It was a good story that kept you interested and invested. And I'm really hoping that because of the success of the Lord of the Rings movies, and now we've got The Hobbit coming up soon, which once again, medieval fantasy adventure movie, I think Nintendo's going to take notice, when they get the right people in line and that sort of thing, to make a Zelda movie. And I think that's something where we can say, okay, now we're starting to see this become even more to fruition, because we've had the game franchise, we've had the cartoon series, which was, well, it wasn't really a cartoon series by itself. It was in tandem with the Mario Brothers show.
Which was kind of silly, but it worked.
You know what, though? I still remember, well, excuse me, princess. In fact, I tried to work that into one of my scripts. Until a friend of mine's like, no, that's a stupid reference.
Speaking of
But
The Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
and all of that sort of thing. We kind of mentioned this earlier in something.
Oh yeah, we did.
What is Lego perhaps might be doing?
We did mention this earlier. Well, we'll tag this up. So Lego has, back in May, they came out with Lord of the Rings Legos. Obviously because of the success of the movies, and then we've got The Hobbit come up of December. Well, the website we've mentioned previously, the Lego, or Cuusoo, I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's CUUSOO.com.
So hopefully we're pronouncing that right.
Doesn't really matter how we're pronouncing it. Just make sure you type it in correctly. It's basically it's kind of like Kickstarter almost, where you need to get 10,000 supporters of any idea you have for Lego, and if you get that many supporters, they'll review it, and if it's something they can produce and they can do, they will. Well, guess what? As we previously mentioned, the Zelda is on there and is doing really well. It's reached 10,000 supporters, and so now it's actually in the official product stage, which means they've accepted the idea. Now what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we like this idea. We need to get the licensing fees or licensing for it. We need to actually get set designs. We need to get marketing campaigns, which means they have to, and marketing in Lego is quite a bit. It's not just, creating the box design. It's creating the box design, making commercials. And especially if you've seen a Lego commercial, they're not as simple to make as they used to be.
Right.
It used to be just a kid playing with some Lego sets. Now it's, 3D, the Lego sets come to life and everything, which is really cool but costly. So.
Yeah. Maybe
and
having to get the rights for the music because that's iconic just for the commercials,
You know how they have the Lego Ninjago series, the television show?
Mm-hmm.
What about a Lego Zelda show?
Well, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. And it's doable now.
Of course
So-
it is. So, yeah, if this does happen, if Lego can't get the licensing from Nintendo...
Oh, come on.
That would be very disheartening, but the
They're
thing
going to
is,
get it. Oh, no. They're going to get it. It's just a matter of time at this point. It really is.
I've said it before, and I'll just say it now.
Because-
If they actually if they do make a Zelda set, I'll have to get at least one, just out of principle.
Yes.
Just because, I've always wanted a Nintendo Lego mix, and now I
Yeah.
finally could get one.
Yes. And the thing of it is
It works so well in Lego, though.
it does. And it works because what I've seen a lot of people say, oh, they should make this set or they should make that set, especially with the success of the Star Wars lineup. They're like, oh, they should make the Jedi Temple. It's like, okay, well, I like the look of the Jedi Temple. What happens inside the Jedi Temple?
All the kids get killed. Isn't that a fun idea?
That's the, okay, all right. First of all, that's the only action that actually takes place. The rest of it is dialogue scenes. That's not anything fun. It's like, that's what, but they're not looking at it from a practical standpoint. It's like, yes, if you're going to make a certain set out of a Lego, it not only has to have a buildability factor, but a playability factor. So it's like, what are you going to do? Have Mace and Obi-Wan talking to each other the entire time? It's like, no. It's like, it has to play to 6 to 12-year-olds. It's like, yeah, okay, you're a 30, 40-year-old saying, oh, this would be really cool. Yeah, but would a 7-year-old want to play with this? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. But Lego Zelda works because it's that classic medieval fantasy adventure. And just like we talked about before, if kids nowadays are enjoying the games just as much as we did growing up, yeah, of course that's going to work for them.
Of course, there's plenty of things that can make it different from Lord of the Rings.
And yes, plenty of things that make it different because the Lord of the Rings sets are so grittier looking, they're darker looking. Zelda would be a great contrast. It would be brighter, more colorful, but you have those same classic elements. A Lego boomerang for Link would be awesome.
Little Lego bombs.
Yes! That'd be awesome.
You'd have a Lego Link, a
shield,
Lego Ganon, a Lego
Zelda, and then you could have the Triforces.
You can make a Triforce.
And just to kind of work in tandem, the Monster Hunter sets that they've come up with. Mm-hmm. They actually have something similar to the Triforce that they use in that lineup. Whereas each set comes with a little thing, it's kind of a runestone for that specific monster.
Okay.
Like you have the werewolf runestone, the creature from the Black Lagoon runestone, the mummy, the vampire, all this. And in the castle set, you have the lead vampire is trying to get all the runestones so he can open up a vortex or something. And it really, so you could do that. Like each Lego set would come with a piece of the Triforce, and like your big castle set would have Ganon with Zelda, and he has to get all the Triforces to control the world, Hyrule or something.
Right, and plus there's plenty of areas from the games that you could make for play sets.
Oh yeah, and I was a little skeptical at first because I didn't know much of the storylines other than the original. Honestly. In fact, I didn't know anything about them. It was just like, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with the original, so I'm probably not going to like it. But hearing about it's like, okay, I certainly am interested and very excited about Link to the Past. I'm going to have to go back, and I'm going to go back. What am I talking about? I never played it the first time. I'm definitely going to have to play that one. But just the fact that, yeah, they could, and the nice thing is, kind of with Lego Batman, with the sets, they basically created their own universe. With the games, they've created their own. A Lego Zelda game.
I'd be cool.
It's like, that would be awesome. But sorry.
I mean, the thing is, because it's Zelda, it's a Nintendo property. It could probably only be on one system. So
that'd be okay
a little bit more limited than I think
maybe
Lego
likes. A little bit limited, but it would still work. And I don't think Lego would be able to make their sets would sell. If they made a TV show, that would certainly be profitable. And if they made the game, well, Lego's still getting money even if it's on the one system, so they're not going to complain too much. What was I going to say? I think I talked about something I forgot now. Okay, that's right. So, for instance, the Lego Batman games, they've been their own thing. They're not taken from any movie or anything. They're making their own story just based upon the characters. So, with the set designs, they could kind of do a similar thing. They could say, okay, we're going to, incorporate story elements from the different games. We're going to incorporate the characters and the settings, but we're going to create our own, not that you would necessarily need this to appreciate the set, but to give the sets any kind of cohesiveness. Say, okay, we're going to create our own little mini story, kind of like with the Monster Hunter thing I mentioned.
Right.
Something so you have a basic setup of, okay, why are these sets, why does, this set exist and why does it look like this? What's going on here? And how does this tie into the lineup overall? That's one thing that Lego has done really well. When they take ideas of their own and work with it on its own, it's very successful. The castle lineup they did, which I absolutely love, where you had the humans and the undead and the orcs and the dwarves, that was great. Because they did it on their own and they kind of gave it their own storyline. The Monster Hunter thing I'm looking forward to because of that. As we've talked about before, they look great. And, like you said, the monsters could be the bad guys or it could be the other way around because they've incorporated human characters as well. Derby hats are awesome.
This random derby hats are awesome.
Well, that's because they have derby hats on the guys, and it's awesome.
We both were like, well, they use monocles, that'd be great.
Well, they have guys with monocles, so I actually have a guy with a monocle and a mustache. You put a derby hat on, awesome.
You'll be named Pip, because everything you'll say is Pip, Pip, cheerio.
Yeah. But the fact is they created their own little storyline, and clearly those sets are inspired by the classic Universal monsters.
Right.
Which is great. They're using inspiration from something we know. They're doing it in a way that's their own, and they're making it work. And I think for Zelda, that would be the way to go. You're not going to see any set that's going to represent anything from a specific game. I think, honestly, just from a creative standpoint, that would be kind of foolish. You want to have a new feel with a Lego set. Honestly, when I see some of the movie tie-ins, like with Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, like, okay, yeah, but it would be nice if you tried to do something a little different.
Well, the thing is, most of these Zelda fans know that pretty much from most of the games onward, they don't connect to each other. So for Zelda, it's easy to disconnect to its own thing. But what's nice about it is if they just include certain pieces or designs into the sets, that's all we need to just have in our own adventures and relive moments with figurines. If they include a mini ocarina, which I think they will.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Then you could instantly just replay moments from the game.
Considering that they have the actual, like in the Lord of the Rings set with Frodo, he's got the one ring, although they call it the one bracelet because it's literally it has to be big enough so he can hold it.
Yeah.
So it's literally like it covers his entire hand.
But he's got Sting and he's got
he's got the Sting. You've got those elements. Lego Zelda would be pretty awesome, and the fact is you could have. The nice thing about that is it really lends itself to a large variety of set sizes. One thing I like from a lineup is I like to see anywhere from like a $5 or $6 set all the way up to a $100 set and everything in between. So you feel like, okay, they really were creative and I want to see a castle set with Ganon and Zelda. That'd be awesome.
So that could be a bigger set, like one of the smaller sets could be, Link and his horse fighting off a monster creature that they can create.
You could have Link the horse up maybe like a tree or something to give it a little bit of setting, and then a monster. Or, one of the bad guys or something.
Right.
You know,
You know what a
You
bigger
could-
set can be like?
you could do a labyrinth set
Yeah.
that's top down and you got the walls, but you can see inside. It doesn't have a roof. That'd
right,
be really
and
good.
You can have it function like
Yeah.
you have a bomb piece and you can have a wall that can break apart.
Yeah, that'd be. Oh, this is getting me excited.
And there's a lot of possibilities for it. So I mean, it lends itself well to Lego.
Yeah, it does.
Speaking of lending itself to things, you mentioned it earlier, but I'm just gonna kind of say in let's see, I don't have a date for it, so I'll just say
It was
a
few
fan
years
film
ago.
trailer based on The Legend of Zelda.
I know I was still living with my parents at the time, so this was at least 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, as an April Fool's prank, IGN.com made this.
Yeah.
They made a Legend of Zelda movie trailer.
And now,
here's the thing.
it was really well done
Here's the thing. It enraged fans.
because it
Not
was
because it was bad. Because we were like, why isn't this real?
Yes, because you watched that trailer like you don't realize it was an April Fool's prank at the first.
No.
At first you're like, wait, they're really coming out. Then you're like, no! Why is this not real? You stupid idiots!
Or like
Make this!
Like if you saw that,
We will go see this in droves 3-4 times.
because they hit the tone and the look and the feel of it dead on.
Yeah.
So like when you watch the trailer, which we'll post, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Like when you watch it and you're like, this looks awesome. I'll go see that. And then like when you first saw that, like when it originally aired, you're like, this looks awesome.
When
Why
is this
I-
coming out?
When this is coming out, and then you're like, wait, what's
This isn't
today?
real.
No! It's a joke, isn't it? It is. I am sad now and angry at the same time. Yet somehow,
Well, see, I
some
didn't
way-
see it on April Fool's Day. I think I saw it like a few days later. So it didn't occur to me that it was April Fool's. But
I know, but still, it's like, arg.
Yeah.
It's so good. And the thing is, as we talked about before in the Mario episode, Nintendo is very, very hesitant to do any other Nintendo
Which
movie.
they have, they've got a right to be. At the same time, it's like, okay, Nintendo, just call Joss Whedon.
The thing is, and I sincerely believe this, if Nintendo is ever going to make a movie,
Yeah.
Zelda's got to be where they got to start.
I think that makes sense because, well, we've talked about Mario and Mega Man as being that's Capcom. Sorry.
Metroid, I think, would be the other
Yeah,
big
Metroid's
staple
another.
for it.
But I think and the reason that Zelda works is because it can play to people of all ages. Mario Brothers, it's gonna have a silliness to it, which we're okay with. But Zelda has something. It's a medieval fantasy adventure that says something that kids, adults, even older people. That's got something everyone can appreciate and something that anyone can enjoy.
And the thing is, you have so much content from all of the games
Right.
to pull from.
You have so much content.
Not just from story elements, which you don't even have to do because it'll be
No.
its own thing,
Right.
which we'll expect, but just elements from the things that will work cinematically.
Right.
Like Sword and Shield, perfect.
Have the fairy come up and
Having mystical elements, magical elements, magic in general.
And from a cinematic standpoint, okay, the classic, the fairy, revives Link back to health. Well, he could be, beaten and broken and, all that sort of thing. The fairy comes over and he starts he's like, oh, this feels better. And he stands up and he's like, yes, I'm ready to fight. And you can do that cinematically and it'd be so great. And seeing in live action a sword like magically shoot out, that would be awesome.
That would probably be something more like as he gains all the power, he can do that like near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because it would be cheap. It would cheapen it if you can do it all the time.
Oh yeah, you don't do that. That's something you save.
But still, like the idea of him seeing the classic bomb, but not just letting it there and throwing it, maybe getting his arrow to do something with fire because he can use his magic.
Right.
Because you can get fire arrows in some of the later
Well,
games.
and I think just in the sense of because we both know films a lot. From the way that a typical film is going to be structured, I would expect something more, or kind of like either the original or Link to the Past, somewhere in there, as far as like how the structure of the film would be. Whereas, okay, the objective is to rescue the princess or to save the people and defeat Ganon.
and ultimately defeat Ganon.
And stop him from getting the Triforce pieces. And, along the way, he has to pick up multiple Triforce pieces.
Or just, defeat monsters that are in his way.
Right.
There's a lot that you can do with it. And the thing is, like, obviously you can't like have the movie say, oh, he's got to go to this many temples and get this many things.
Oh, no. But you at least have a progression.
Right.
And you hit those key moments and that sort of thing, and that would lend itself very well to a movie. And you know what? If you're gonna have them, if you're gonna have Lego sets, tie it into a movie. I mean, it's not like that makes sense or anything. Because, and I forgot to mention this on the newsreel, but with Man of Steel coming out next year, guess what? They're making Lego Man of Steel sets.
Nice.
Awesome. So
it's one of those things where will Nintendo ever decide to make a movie again?
we hope so.
We hope so, but it's
we're
up
not
to them.
holding our breath.
Yeah, I mean it's been a long time, and I think for them, the right script and the right time, all these right things have to come into play. Plus,
They do.
Plus ultimately Miyamoto himself has got to be okay with the idea.
Oh yes, and I,
And since that's one, basically that's one of his babies,
Well, and here's the interesting thing: is the Mario Brothers came out in what, 91, 92?
Something like that.
Well, it's been 20 years at least, and the 90s were not kind to franchise films. Let's be realistic about this. Whether it was video games or comic books or that sort of thing, they were not kind to those sort of films. Nowadays, they are. Why? Because it's been 20-some years, and the people who were kids then, or at least in their teens, and love that stuff, are adults now, are in a place. Joss Whedon, the reason he got to make Avengers was because of the fact that he loved the characters so much from when he grew up with them in the late 80s, early 90s. That's why. So if you have somebody, you need to have somebody young enough, basically, just a little bit older than us, to come along and say, you know what, I'm a good movie maker or TV maker, because Joss Whedon started off in TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really like The Legend of Zelda. That's what we need. We need Robin Williams to pitch a Legend of Zelda film, because he would do it. The Legend of Zelda, starring Robin Williams as everyone.
Then I think we would ruin the film. But
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just...
as awesome as that would be.
But at least but I could see him producing it.
I mean, I'm sure if they actually made I almost guarantee if they made if they were announced a Legend of Zelda film in the works, he would apply just to be anything.
Oh yes.
Obviously, he can't be Link or Ganon, but he's like,
No,
hey,
but
make me a side character.
It'd be like the Sam Jackson with Star Wars film. He's like, put me in. I don't care if anyone else knows I'm in. I'll know I'm in.
Right. I'm sure he would. I mean, of course, him and every other fanboy ever walked the earth would say that.
That's okay.
Speaking of fanboys, in
Yes.
a way, I found this kind of interesting because, hey, this is something I kind of knew and noticed, but then forgot about and then noticed again.
Okay.
Professional wrestler Cody Runnels, better known as Cody Rhodes. I know. It's fine. He is the son of Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, but not for you. Is a fan of the series and has stated he replays A Link to the Past yearly. So it's like, okay.
Nice.
I know you're a bad guy on TV, but I don't care.
I gotta like you just for this.
Pretty much. His wrestling boots features a Triforce symbol.
That's
the thing I noticed.
Is that I was gonna say? Is that pretty evident just from watching it on TV?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's nice. It's nice and it's present.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, oh, it's a Triforce. I wonder if he's a fan. And now I was reading this. He is a fan. And a fan of one of my favorite games.
Yes.
Makes sense
Awesome.
to me. I like you now, Cody. I mean, you were a good wrestler before, but I like you now,
Yeah.
Cody.
Always good.
So, because I haven't played any of the recent games, I really don't have much to talk about on those. They look good.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, and from what I'm seeing, they are taking advantage of the motion control.
Yes.
For me, again, I'm a fan of buttons, so for certain games, like I'll give you a solid example.
Mm-hmm.
The Punch-Out for Wii.
Okay.
Great game.
Right.
You can do motion control with it, but to me, it feels best when holding it the controller the classic style because it was based on the old game.
Right.
So I feel that I would have fun swinging the sword
Right.
and doing some of the other things you do with the motion control. Again, I don't know all the particulars of what you would do, but I kind of hope that you also push buttons in between. Like, I don't want it to be just moving around like this because, I don't know.
Well,
I think I need to try it just to really know it, but...
Well, I think with the Wii, you really have to look at, was Punch-Out an earlier game when the Wii came out?
Somewhat. I mean, you had the option to do... The nice thing about Punch-Out is you can do motion control, but you can... But
no, I know that.
buttons.
I'm just saying, the reason I asked that is because if it was a game that came out when the Wii first came out, they're not going to have understood the capabilities of it and what works best. A later game, for instance, the Wii's... How long has the Wii been out?
At least 4 years.
Okay, so at least 4 years.
Maybe going on 5.
Yeah, so at least 4, maybe 5 years. And the new Zelda came out, I think, like last year. So within the last year. Now, as I've said, I've seen some of the gameplay. My friend's brother-in-law was playing it, and it looked pretty fun. I mean, then again, it was a lot more expansive. I mean, you say that which one was it?
Ocarina of Time?
Ocarina of Time, that the world was expansive. It gets even more expansive in this one.
I mean, that's kind of be expected.
Which is expected. It's not a bad thing. But what I noticed was, I think they understood how to incorporate the motion elements better. And I think that's really, when you have a newer technology like the Wii or Kinect or something like that, you really have to get a fully understanding of, okay, yes, we want to make a good game, but we also, if we're going to make it with this technology, it needs to work well with it. And I think that's always a challenge.
And not feel clunky.
Right, not feel clunky, because the button pressing has been around for so long, it's a lot easier to make a game for that. It's harder to make a game that works well with the motion control, so that not only is the motion control fluid, but it also, you feel like there is something you can add to that.
I think if it played a bit like Ghostbusters, where you moved around with the nunchuck, but you can aim and swing with the remote,
right,
but also still had buttons to use your items.
Right.
I think if it's like that, I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, and it might be, because Ghostbusters came around the same time, where it was, they had a better understanding of the movement system, so that, once you understand that technology, you're like, okay, we need to make sure it does this, but it doesn't do that. So, I'll see if I can get her to let me borrow it. That way you can try it.
Yeah. And that's Zelda. I don't think I have too much more to add, other than in Majora's Mask, which I haven't played, but I've seen enough of. That has single-handedly one of the most creepy, eerie things in the game that haunts you the whole time. Not just the mask, but the fact, I believe the plot of that game is, again, I think that's one you have to deal with, another one that you deal with time travel.
Oh, okay.
But it's more of, you have to get things unlocked, because looming in the distance and getting closer with each hour and every day is an asteroid with a face on it. An evil face grinning down at you.
Oh.
And it gets closer and closer.
That is quite creepy.
And if you fail, or if you just not pay attention to your time, it'll eventually just crash into the world and destroy everything.
That sucks.
Yeah, so you have that looking down at you the whole game.
Yeah. So how do you stop the asteroid?
Again, I haven't played it.
Okay.
But I believe you have to get some sort of, like in each temple, unlocks like some sort of magical pillar or something.
Okay. And
basically it's enough to, like, whatever it is going to force the moon or asteroid or whatever it is back out, or it destroys it. So you have to unlock this magical force.
It's still not as compelling to me as, I have to save people and stop this evil man from controlling the world and save a princess. Call me old-fashioned, but I like movies that have that element to it. It's what I liked about John Carter. It was that kind of feel. It's like, yeah, it's science fiction, but it was a lot more fantasy. And when you have a fantasy setting, you got to pull in those elements. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel like it. Star Wars had that. John Carter had that. Zelda has it. Good things happen. Lord of the Rings has it.
Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah. There's a lot of walking, but, they have a hero. They have a MacGuffin of the ring. You have the evil force of Sauron. You have a princess, probably. Well, you got Arwen in there.
Yeah, but they're not really saving her. She doesn't get saved. Not a whole lot of saving going on that one.
A lot of dying, not a lot of saving.
Yeah.
Well, they're saving the people of Middle-earth from Sauron's reign, so there's that. So, but you know what, Andrew? It's dangerous to go out there alone. Freaks out!
Freaks in! Freaks out!
The content of the Freakacast is copyright to Andrew Felson and Matthew Puetz. All characters belong to their respective owners. A full list of music used will be provided on the website. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Copyright 2012.
come to town.